kid. There's still men out there. God damn. When I go home, people ask me, hey, Hoot, why do you do it, man? Why? You some kind of war junkie? I won't say a goddamn word. Why? They won't understand. They won't understand why we do it. They won't understand it's about the men next to you. And that's it. That's all it is.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, #1 listener-supported radio, the printing press for freedom at a time when freedom is needed the most. Join me at Revolution Radio, Studio B, at 11 a.m. on Saturday for Free Association, when we take a look at philosophy, spirituality, psychology, social issues, and geopolitics. It's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Studio B at freedomslips.com.
What is going on here? I demand an explanation.
We work for a highly funded yet unofficial government agency.
An intelligence organization that fears intelligence, historically not awesome.
The United States is a democratic nation. Here the people rule. We build no walls to keep them in, nor organize any system of police to keep them mute.
Freedom isn't free at all, but it comes with the highest of costs.
We have you, the listeners, and the hosts at
Revolution Radio.
for allowing us to bring you a platform of free speech.
CPR street gang, both is all fighting. Standing by, over. CPR street gang, both is all fighting. Standing by, over.
Right now, it's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines,
clock's run out. Time's up.
Wind is blowing cold and dark. On the road and no way out. Broken house, a smoking gun. On the run. On the run.
gentlemen, live from the broken down, low rent, sleazy, double greasy pirate radio Nut Hut Studios, it's time for the very first ever
It's Friday night. My name's Jimmy. It's Revolution Radio. So right, we got a very special guest tonight. But on top of that, the Epic Journeyman's here, Rockin' Rio's here, Bruce McDonald's here. You're here. And in the microcosm is on the app.
To know if I should lick my wounds or say it was me instead. There's an aching inside my head. It's telling me you're better off alone. But after midnight, morning will come. Every day we'll see.
Yeah. What up? This is Dr. Dre. The party's going on. Thank God it's Friday. Keep the heads ringing. Keep the heads ringing. Say what?
You better get up out of your chair.
That's right.
And work your body down. No time to funk around, cause we don't.
You right on up, so get up, get a move on.
Epic Journeyman. Are you there?
I am here.
Excellente. What's happening, man?
I have never been more glad for the weekend, man.
Oh, I heard that, man. It's been one long grind. You can't be king of the world when you're slave to the grind. That's what they told me. So, I had to resign as general manager of the universe. Now I'm your friendly announcer, your host, your master of ceremonies. Tonight I got the Epic Journeyman here, man. I didn't think you made it by the skinny chin, didn't you, man? You barely made it.
Dude, barely. I mean, we're talking like the computer stuff from behind the computer, all the cables, like the cat play with them or something. Sound settings, all that stuff, wild stuff. Man.
I know. It's
the last second, it's like, oh, it's good.
It's a never-ending battle for truth. Into the microcosm, Jimmy Jean Strike Zone on YouTube. If you want to join us, TalkStream Live. Find the Revolution Radio icon, click on it, drive us up the chain there, back where we are. We're supposed to be up there somewhere. I think we'll see later. But anyway, meantime, we got a very special guest tonight. It's a good night tonight, man. I'm super stoked. I'm energetic because I haven't been slowly drained like a leech, draining, sitting there on a parasite, sucking your blood all week with this information. I'm fresh. I'm on my feet. I see the Queen is gone. I see Charles, Uncle Chuck over there, stepping up to the what was that stone called? Jacob's stone.
The pillow stone, yeah.
Exactly. Look, watch out.
Italiano, Joe, you mixed up Siciliano, or you calabrese, do the mambo like crazy, and hey, mambo, don't want a tarantella, hey, mambo, no more a mozzarella, hey, mambo, Italiano, try an enchilada with a fish, a bacalao, and hey, compa,
You barely made it by the skin of your chinny chin over there, too. I feel like you're about to huff and puff and blow my house down next. I don't even think you're that. Rockin' Rio. He's not there.
He's muted, man.
He's watching the highlights of that Buffalo game yesterday.
I am here now.
It's always
an amateur hour, Rio.
It's always something, isn't it?
I'm telling you.
The Italian stallion. He's over there taking no prisoners. And no, is that a? Let me ask you this question, Bruce McDonald. It's a question. Let me ask you a question, real early tonight. I want to know now. Is Rockin' Rio? Do they call him the Italian stallion? What is the reason? Why do they call him that? Is that because he always has a chunk of dry salami? Because he's Italian and he has to have a sandwich sometimes, and you never know. I mean, is that Italian dry salami or something else? Nobody knows. Maybe Bruce knows. I don't know.
I do not know.
I don't know. It doesn't matter wherever he goes, they call him the Italian stallion. No, listen. So we're very excited tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because we've had enough. We have a saying around here: enough is enough already. And by the time Friday rolls around, most of us enough is enough already, right? But and so we take that attitude here. We like to have a little fun. On the weekends here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, #1 listener-supported network on the face of the plane. However that falls for you. Go on down, become supporter Patreons over there. There's different ways. I think the store is coming back online. There's different ways you can do that. But anyhow, so you guys all know over here, Revolution Radio, you all know that we were over on Aftermath for a bit, and one of our good friends that we made over there is actually a broadcaster in his own right, and a really great guy, and somebody, somebody who put up with old Jimmy. Let me just say, behind the scenes, old Jimmy's not all puppy dogs and ice cream, if you know what I'm saying. All right. From Las Vegas, Nevada. It's the haterazzi. Mr. Gates. How you doing, Mr. Gates?
Yo, what's up? Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, it's good to have you, bro. Now, we've only talked maybe, 2 or 3 times since the whole Aftermath debacle. My iPad's over here cranked up going off somewhere, and I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Sounds pretty good, man. Hey, you sound good coming in with that Marvin Gaye, man. You should think about that one. That's a good one.
Right on.
So let me ask you this now. So it's been a while since we talked, and I know for a fact that you do live in the city where entertainment is king. Isn't it the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada?
They try to be. Do a pretty good job, I guess.
Well, so let me ask you this question now. I've noticed over the past, couple years, but mainly in this last 12-month period, I've noticed this super absence of a lot of these higher-end, high-ticket celebrities. Now, let me ask you this question. What's it looking like in Vegas as far as people that are doing these stints where they sit there for, 6 months at a time and do shows every night? Is there anybody big in town, or does it seem like they're, the B players have hit the circuit?
No, they still got them. I know Usher has a residency here.
Mm-hmm.
I know Bruno Mars just did one. And Adele, I think Adele's about to start hers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So yeah, they're still
canceled,
getting them. Yeah, they canceled it, but I think they said they were going to redo it. So yeah, it still happens. I mean, locals, we don't really, we don't really do that. That's more for the tourists.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're still rocking over there.
Yeah, I mean,
on the strip.
I mean, I can't imagine what it would be. I guess, if you were passing through there, I guess it might be kind of cool to go see Aerosmith or something in one of those scenarios. But I literally saw Aerosmith when they were high on coke. I could seem to me like it would be kind of a letdown to go there and see him now. I kind of want to remember him in that little bubble that I kept him in back there in the 70s, because something about, being 75 years old, jumping around doesn't you know what I mean? It doesn't, like,
right.
It doesn't jive. It's not like in the 50s, like our parents.
Yeah.
When the bands that were getting old start doing those tours, there's like one person left live, but they still call it the same name.
Yeah.
Everybody goes to it. They play all the songs or whatever. And so like when we were looking back at that, we're just looking at that going, look at these, But now that's starting to happen to us. Some of the people that we listen to are starting to get old, and you're starting to find out they were a hell of a lot older than you thought they were. Like, I was identifying with dudes that were like 45 years old, man. I had no idea because they looked young. They were preserved in drugs and alcohol.
Right. Well, that was back in the day when the industry wasn't so image based. You could get by on raw, real talent.
Yeah. There's something to be said about a bunch of people sitting in a room together with instruments, and music being created in that moment. I see these ads all the time on YouTube in between videos of these dudes. I don't even know what to call these dudes, but they're like, yeah, this guy's contacting me about this new software package that he has, and he's like, you don't even have to know anything about music at all. You can just arrange shit. You can just hum a song into it, and it'll play a piano riff on there.
Absolutely, yeah. And then now you have AI. Where you could just input any song, and the AI within minutes will create a song that in that same vein, lyrics and all.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we played that Metallica. There's a Metallica one. We played a few times, and I actually thought it was better than most of the Metallica shit that's come out in a while. It had that old vibe to it,
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, and that's not just the only thing with music. I mean, it's also that way, now with film the same way, or with these holographic, images of people. And, you and I were chatting a little bit about this the other day, and that's kind of what we wanted to start talking about tonight on the show a little bit, is because I don't think people really have talked about it too much, and it's just like, we spent like 3 years having cognitive liberty being the number one issue of every single show that we talked about. The ultimate ending of that show was you should take control of your cognitive liberty. Because if you don't get out here ahead of this shit and make laws against it, then it's just going to be there, and then there's not going to be any way for you to avoid it. And so that's what's happening with this now. Just like, we talked a little bit about this, Rock and Rio and Bruce McDonald, you guys, Epic Journeyman, you guys jump in here with us on this now, because, there was a whole group, like in the very beginning of the music recording industry and the playing of music on the radio and the developing of the psychological programming that goes on with the social engineering of these types of music and songs. They found a really good base for their programming, and that was blues music, older blues music. And there were a lot of musicians that were out there, these older blues players. They were out there with guitars like one tooth and two strings out on the back porch or whatever, and they wrote some jam. And somehow, Led Zeppelin got a hold of it. And then they turned it into a whole lot of love or whatever and made $1 million, whatever. But meanwhile, the dude with, who wrote the song never got anything.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I mean, I think we're in that same kind of a moment right now with digital imaging, and the making of movies without the use of actual flesh and blood actors, by utilizing the AI to develop movies around a particular dead movie star, for example.
They're doing it with dead rock stars too, right? They did it with Ronnie James Dio. They put him out on tour. ABBA actually they're all still alive, but they just did a virtual hologram tour as well. And they were actually part of it, and it was really a fascinating production, but they digitally redid themselves as how they looked in the 70s as opposed to how they look now. So it's new music from ABBA that came out this year, but it's the concert as it would have looked had they done this 30 years ago.
Wow.
And it's kind of a fascinating technology that they use for that. And of course, we've seen it in the movies. You know, they did it with Carrie Fisher in Star Wars is the notable example.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the deep fake, the Irishman, they did it in that Will Smith movie where he was young. The deep fake technology is only going to get better. Right now, the human eye can still see, we can still see that there's something a little bit off. But with as fast as they are advancing with this technology, pretty soon they'll just put Bruce Lee in a movie and you'll be like, holy shit, that's him.
Yeah, well, I think as time progresses and we start moving into this more augmented reality and AI augmented reality, where if I'm in augmented reality or if I'm in virtual reality, I could go buy myself a pair of tennis shoes in there. Yep. Okay, and if you're in augmented reality or virtual reality, when you see me in the street, you got them glasses on, you're gonna see me wearing those shoes, but I won't be really wearing them because they're not really there. But you'll see them you see them as though they're there because of the way that it's set up in these augmented reality glasses, and I think that's part of the ongoing process of making this more real is that, as time goes by, they figure things out. So, like, at first, when they were trying to do these holograms, it was really difficult because they were trying to actually create the hologram.
Right.
But then they realized they didn't have to actually create it. They only had to create a hologram visible to the human eye. And that spectrum was easier for them to, sort of get going on. So.
Well, what's really interesting right now is they are selling virtual real estate. There's a bunch of different platforms, but one that I've been looking at is called Superworld. And you guys can go there right now at superworldapp.com. And you can basically, they've sectioned the entire planet off into, I don't know, so many acres or whatever. And you can buy a plot. So like you can buy on the map, like on Google Maps, you can buy your house right now in this virtual world. And in the future, when, everybody's wearing these, augmented reality glasses, you can make whatever world in there. So you can sell advertisements. Mm-hmm. You can, like, if you go in there right now and you go someplace popular, like the pyramids in Egypt, all of that land is bought up. Like, people have already bought it.
I know.
Go to Superworld right now.
What's really funny?
What's that?
Because we did a show about this. It's one of the very first shows we did on Aftermath called Earth 2. And what,
there you go.
What we were saying then was that if for example, you know how the Queen of England or the UK they own everything? Well, imagine that they were some people in the beginning of that virtual reality game that we were living in. They got there first and they bought everything up because they knew in the future that these places were going to be the places where things were going to be happening. It's the same thing now. When you go in this world and you can go buy that shit, you could go be the Queen of England with the amount of stuff that you own in this new world because nobody's hip to it yet.
Right.
You know?
I thought of something when this is going on with this NFT stuff, which is so ridiculous, right? You're going to buy some animation icon, it's going to be worth $1 million. No, it's not, right? Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. But the idea behind it is what's important, because that's what's going to happen is that instead of being the NFTs, which are these unusable, stupid logos and digital media, whatever, it'll be the what do you call it? The program, the algorithm that'll build your pet dog. You'll clone your dog. It'll be your wife in the other world. It'll be these things, these commodities. It'll be the airplane you fly. It'll be the spaceship that takes you to another level. It'll be all these things. So the NFT in this case won't be called NFT anymore, but the idea of those being actually something of value, because it's just your little logo. It's like a thumbnail on your desktop, right? When you buy it, but in reality, it expand, not in real reality, but in virtual reality, in the alternate, AR world, augmented reality world, it'll actually expand into this, it'll be your old dog.
Well, so
it'll be whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So
right.
let me.
And you can trade it, and it's there forever, right?
So let me ask you a question then. If we're if we're in virtual or augmented reality, in other words, it's a lot harder to make a movie for me in real life that seems real to me when I watch it on a screen. So if you're going to fake me a James Dean and put him on a screen at the movie house where I go down and see it, that's really hard and difficult. And for you to come up and be able to do that without flaws, for people to pick it apart and never go see it, you wouldn't be able to do it. But on the other hand, what if you did the same exact idea but took it and put it in a total virtual world where you could take that James Dean and make a movie with him in it in virtual reality and it would be real?
Right.
Well, right. In the 20-year-old James Dean NFT, we're going to call it NFT just for purposes because it's the best analog. So the NFT that you buy or you rent or you lease of James Dean at 20, right, is a commodity, right? And if you're the one who created it, or you're the one that has all the rights to it, it's just like having the rights to James Dean at the studio back in the day. Everybody, you have the best model you created. They want your model to be in their film, right? And that's the most, desirable one, and it becomes worth the most.
Mm-hmm.
So it rewards creators as well. People who can create this kind of content will become more and more in demand. But unbeknownst, well, it should be, I can't say it should be beknownst, but that's why I use it anyway improperly to everyone, that AI is going to do it better. So once it learns how we do it, it'll make it all that much faster, easier, and better than we do. And eventually, it'll be the AI that you're leasing space from.
So so right now, Mr. Gates, Bruce McDonald, Rock and Rio, Epic Journeyman, and Jimmy, and everybody here, we could start the Dead Movie Star Mafia, and we could go around and buy up these rights from these dead movie stars' last living relatives who's, scraping it together to try to go down get that quart of whiskey down at the liquor store. You know what I mean? You just go around and buy up these rights real cheap from these people and just hand them a couple grand kind of thing, right? Is that what you think's going on, Mr. Gates?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you just go pay Bruce Lee's family for the rights. They get, royalties off of it. The developers and then whatever company. I guarantee that there's people doing that now. That they're actually procuring the digital rights for their likeness to be used in movies. I mean, think of it, you could get a movie, say, starring, Humphrey Bogart, Bruce Lee. You could bring all these people, put them in the same movie. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's inevitable. And even if we don't understand it, because we're from the old school, we still remember Blockbuster Video. These kids, this is going to be the only world they know. So for them, it's going to be, it's going to be the norm.
Exactly. So okay, let's just say, for example, let's say you didn't even know Humphrey Bogart even existed.
Right.
Or you didn't even know about Elvis. Let's say you're like 15 years old right now. You don't know shit about Elvis, right? And neither does anybody else your age.
Yep.
If you know that Elvis already worked at another period of time, couldn't you just re-roll it out just like it happened? Like roll it out, show a bunch of chicks screaming, get everybody hyped up for the guy, the whole thing. Couldn't you redo it again?
No, check this out, because I've thought about this. Now think about this, right? Back in our day, old school, we would go to the record store, we would buy a physical copy of a first 8-track, then vinyl, then tapes, then CDs, right? And that was part of the pleasure of buying a new album, was reading the liner notes, seeing the artwork on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everything is digital. So realistically, 100 years from now, 50 years from now, once we're all dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can reintroduce Prince and the Revolution as if they just came out.
That's what I'm saying.
And there's no physical proof.
That's what I'm saying.
They can completely wipe it, just in this, withhold it for a time. I mean, they might already did this. Maybe Led Zeppelin was, existed 2,000 years ago, And we thought that shit was,
there was a movie where a dude bumped his head and he woke up and the Beatles didn't exist. Yeah, they didn't exist.
Right.
And all of a sudden he just started playing the same songs and the songs had the same exact effect. That's what I'm saying. If the method of delivery for the psychological engineering that's been going on, the seductive character, that was a method of delivery for a certain lifestyle or a certain way of thinking or whatever the hell was going on with the lyrics, whatever they were doing.
Right.
You could take that same operation now, and because you already know that it worked. In other words, how did it work? What was it that made James Brown great?
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, if you ever saw James Brown, anyone's ever seen him, you know why he's great.
Charisma.
One of the reasons.
Charisma.
Yeah. And he was the
hardest. Was new.
And he was one of the hardest working dudes, period. And that really wasn't a joke. Man, that dude, some songs went on for like 25 minutes, man, when he was playing live.
Right. It was something new. It was something fresh for the time. Something that I'd say music is really missing for us.
Well, they proved this out already with audio. In other words, so there was a time when James Brown fell off. And then he was gone. He was off the scene. But then all of a sudden, people started taking samples of old James Brown shit and putting it into the high repetitive, hip hop records.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, James Brown came back, fucking living in America. All of a sudden, boom! I saw him at the Circle Star Theater in San Carlos in the round. This theater that went around and around the stage. And he was so proud of that "Living in America" song, man. He literally played that shit twice. I'm not even kidding. He played it twice.
Right.
But
Rocky IV made that like an iconic song.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if I played it right now, we'd get banned worldwide. And this is going to be a good show, good conversation with Mr. Gates. Mr. Gates, the haterazzi. Where's your podcast going on now? I mean, are you anywhere? Because I know you got a lot of stuff going on. I know you've been working on some films stuff there in Vegas, and you can talk about that if you want, and let us everybody know where they can check out what's going on with you. Because I know you're also an artist, and so this is also a conversation pertaining to you. Like, say for example, you as an artist, and now let's say you're doing digital imaging now as part of your repertoire. And you decide you want to go back and grab, say, I don't know, one of these stars from the past and grab their likeness and their image and then reintroduce them again under your own sort of augmented reality NFT kind of a situation. Anyways, tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me wherever podcasts are available for now. Now, we do have a new... Have you told the people yet, Jimmy?
We kind of talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago. Billy popped on by, but no, let's talk about that. And I'll when we go to the top of the hour, I'll play that advertisement, that piece over here on YouTube. But yeah, let's let everybody know. Go ahead, tell everybody, man. So, but first of all, are you still doing like a weekly podcast for the haterazzi?
Not weekly. More bi-weekly. Yeah, I just released one I think a week ago.
So it's like every 2 weeks when you're feeling happy because you got paid. You feel happy, you do a quick show, and then you slowly get depressed for the next 2 weeks.
Well, no, what it was, man, like I've been working on a documentary film for the last like 9 months, so that took all my time. But but I miss radio, I miss talking, and so. We decided to, we had been talking about doing what we're going to do with the new online streaming radio station for a while. And, I put the film on hold for now due to some budgetary issues. And I said, okay, let's do it. Let's let me put my time in. So, yeah, the podcast is there, but we're going to be going live here.
Sweet.
Within the month. For sure.
Let's hope so, man. I got my fingers crossed. Freeworld.fm.
Freeworld.fm. If you go there now, the page is just parked. We didn't even put up the splash page yet, but we're working behind the scenes. We're getting everything together. We just gotta kind of
it's clean. I've seen it. It's looking good, man. Everything's
Right on.
looking good, so there's good vibes, and there's a lot of great people going to be over there.
Yeah, a lot of your favorites in the alternative media will be joining us.
This is going to
I
be
don't
good.
know if I should say some names. I'll throw some out there. We got David Knight coming over there. We got Charlie Robinson.
Oh,
Of
nice.
course, Billy Ray Valentine.
Mm-hmm.
We got Tony Arterburn.
Mm-hmm.
We got John Brisson, Jimmy Jean, myself. We got Penelope from the Penelope Nisha show. Brandy will be over there.
Mm-hmm.
And many more.
There's a bunch of people from the UK over there too. Some hard hitters, man.
Right.
What's his nuts? What's his face from the Cambridge Analytica stuff?
Yeah.
I forget his name. I forget the dude's name, but you know who I'm talking
there's
about.
So many. Yeah, there's so many of them.
It's literally
and we got more coming. So
the list
that'll
goes
be a
on.
place. It'll be 24 hours of real talk radio with no censorship. Everyone who's getting kicked off of these other platforms like YouTube and Facebook, come see us. As long as you're not talking too crazy, we're all about freedom of speech.
Badass.
You dig?
Well, man, I gotta say, being over on Aftermath with you, you were a bright spot over there, and
I appreciate
you were the only person over there, who kept your word. You know what I'm saying?
Right on.
So,
I appreciate you, man. Yeah, I'm sorry that whole thing went down the way it did.
Yeah, it was.
But
hey, man, it's the school of hard knocks, though. The thing is that it's where you are when you get to where you're going. That matters. This is not where you are right now.
Right.
So we chose to we're like the Jeffersons, man. We're moving on up, up and out, and let's just say, there's a good group of people over there at Aftermath, and everybody was there trying to build something, man. And so, but the thing is, that group, damn, was that an F-15 flying over your house?
That was me. I should have muted it. My bad.
Damn. Most people complain about black helicopters, Bruce. Mr. Gates has F-15s flying over his house. I mean, I think Biden just said you need an F-15.
He was going to say, he took it hard.
Started, Jimmy. It's a whole other world there, Nevada.
I
Been
know.
there a few times. Whole other world, Jimmy.
I know. Well, so listen, let me introduce Bruce McDonald. Let me introduce you to Mr. Gates. Mr. Gates, that's Bruce McDonald. I don't know if you know Bruce, but Bruce is here hanging on the show with us pretty often. I'd have to say he's got a chair here at the show. I mean, it wouldn't be the same without him. So he's been here, pretty much for the last while. And but anyway, he's above and beyond that. He's he's here, he's there, he's everywhere. He lives over in Costa Rica, in the Talamanca Mountains. He's got his own spread.
Nice.
Yeah, he's got a spread up there. He's got himself some chickens. And he's growing himself some crops, and he's got a whole infrastructure built up there. He's almost like the god. He's almost like the godfather on this mountain. I would have to say. He's driving a Montero. He just comes pulling up with a cigar, seeing if his avoca's been picked. I'm just messing with him. But he's a really great and interesting guy, and he's written about 3 books. They're up on Amazon.com. That's where you can find them, ladies and gentlemen. Bruce MacDonald. Like Mac Daddy, M-A-C, MacDonald. And
thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah, The Light of Darkness is up there. And what's the Galactic Historian's up there?
Galactic Historian, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, join us on Free World, man. We'd love to have you.
Well, actually.
Oh yeah, I'd love to pop on. Thanks for the invite.
Hey, Mr. Gates, I'll put you in touch.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I was just going to say I'll put Mr. Gates in touch with you in regards to the potential for you to take advantage of some of these slots that may or may not be available. So I'll make sure you guys get in touch with each other. Yeah. So, yeah, Bruce, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm good, Jimmy. It was just kind of an in-the-moment thing.
Oh, sorry. I spoiled that moment by
that's all right,
by steamrolling over you. I'm sorry.
Jimmy, you're hosting. Jimmy, you're running this show like a Chinese mistress.
I'm just starting to wonder if at some point I'll just be this digital representation of myself. Like, we'll think our show is going out, but this whole other show will be going out to everybody who's listening. that looks just like us, except for it's not saying the same shit we're saying. It just censors us as we go out. You know what I mean? It looks like we're saying stuff we're not saying.
Like
That's
digital
funny.
cameo, right? We'll all be at different parties everywhere. We'll be a host, We'll be at the wedding of somebody, whatever. We'll be somebody's best man.
Well, I'm just saying from a speed perspective and from an AI or a general learning AI, we could put a show, we could be doing the show right now, and there could be some sort of a 10-second delay. And in that 10 seconds, the AI could hear what we say, censor it, and then make us look like we're saying something else as we're actually saying it coming out of our mouths. That's what I'm saying. It's to that level. So, I mean, you can never know if somebody's really there or not. And that's the point where everyone's going to beg for that positive ID. You got to know.
I think you just came up with a great episode for, what's that one on Netflix?
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. That's interesting.
Well, it is into the microcosm. We do go out on a limb around here. But, that's the thing. When you live, like, down in Los Angeles, like, see, we just talked about that right there. But if we were down at a coffee house or at a bar in Los Angeles, we could never just openly talk about this shit. Because if we did, like you're saying, about a week later, you'd see that show up on some show. There's some dude sitting next to you, listening, the ear of fortune. That's what we used to call it down there in Los Angeles. Now, you spent some time down in Los Angeles, didn't
you? You asking me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That's where I'm from originally.
Bruce has never been there, I don't think. Bruce, now have you? Have you been to Los Angeles, Bruce?
I was in LAX for 5 hours, Jimmy.
In LAX?
On my way to Taiwan.
Never go back, trust me.
Don't go back.
I thought I'd go out and see a little bit of the city, and this is like 91, right? And the starting of the meter for the taxis at LAX was $5, and I said, "F that! I'll just stay in the airport."
Right.
That's as close as I got to LA.
Well, I don't know.
LA is a terrible place.
You know, when I lived there,
I've heard.
When I lived there, these guys that were there, I mean, when I was there, I wasn't trying to be in the entertainment business per se. In other words, I was doing other shit. And the people that I was around, they used to say stuff like, you know, the best part about Los Angeles is getting out. And
they're all coming to Vegas right now too.
I never used to know what they meant until later on, after a while, after I matured, after LA had chewed me up and spit me out, and I came crawling back. All of a sudden, I went, "Oh, I see what they meant. The best part's getting out, Bruce. Getting out's the best part." And you got the hell out and went to where? Taiwan?
Oh yeah, that's when I was on my way over to Taiwan. Yeah.
Now, Mr. Gates, have you been to Taiwan?
I have not been to Taiwan, no.
Now, Epic Journeyman, I know you've been to Taiwan. I'm thinking about changing your intro song. I'm starting to think Hawaii Five-0 is too wimpy for you. I think we got to change it to Enter Sandman.
Well, I've never been to Taiwan, though. I've tied one on. But
You've never been to Taiwan?
No.
Bruce is the only person on the panel tonight who's ventured out into the Asiatic experience. Now, Bruce, what went on over there when you were there, Bruce? I mean, anything, out of the ordinary?
Well, no. I mean, I was there from 92 to 94. I went when I finished university. I graduated in a recession. So I went over and I taught English for a couple of years, paid off my student loans. I absolutely loved it. At a certain point, I thought I was going to make my whole life there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very magnetic place. So I went over with two different friends from Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
One of them I had known all the way through university in Toronto. And the other one was a Vancouver friend. And
were you
he did all the research.
Were they working at the strip club with you over there at the Marble Arch?
The Marble Arch?
Yeah.
No, but they stopped in to say hello a lot.
Oh, all right. So you knew him from the Marble Arch.
Well, no, one of them I went to school with. I went to university
yeah,
with
but
my
they
buddy
just,
Sid Mills.
Oh, you get him in free or whatever and introduce him to the hot chicks or
Yeah.
whatever. Nice.
So 3 of us went over, and 2 of us are back, and I was the first one back after 2 years. But I came back for a specific reason. Some agent was interested in my first book. So, but my friend that I went to university with, he's still there, man. He's married. He's got 2 kids. He's been there since 1992, 30 years. And he was an odd fellow in Taiwan in 92, man. It wasn't that cosmopolitan. And Sid was from Jamaica. He came over to Canada to go to university we went through the Ryerson journalism program. I remember going around Taiwan with Sid. We'd go into a club, and there'd be like 600 people, gorgeous Chinese women, and all these Taiwanese gangster types, triad types, and you could just hear a pin drop. And you realized you were walking into a room where people had never seen a black man in real life.
Get out of here.
It was mind-boggling.
Well, I'll tell you what,
mind-boggling.
I'll tell you what mind-boggles me is whenever I see any of these, and I'm not making a judgment call either. I'm just saying this is something I've witnessed quite often. I'm pointing it out, but I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with it. I'm going to preface it with that. But whenever I see like places where these in the Asias, wherever it is, Taiwan, Vietnam, wherever it is, places like this, I see clubs and I hear music, Mr. Gates, and I see Chinese women, and they're dancing around, but they're never really. I mean, there's something weird about their rhythms. The rhythms don't seem right, dude. It's like there's.
I hear they got to do. I hear they got to do like 1,000 takes to get those K-pop routines right too.
You know what I'm saying? though? There's just something weird about it.
They don't have rhythm. That you don't. I mean, listen to their classical music. It's like this whining 2-string violin. It's suicide music. Put me in a white cell with 1 bullet in the chamber and put that on for 30 minutes. You go crazy.
Yeah, that absolutely has a lot to do with it too. It's
It's a whole style of music about tuning your instrument, right?
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the thing though. That's the thing though. It's like it's trying to dance to the tune of a different tribe. You know what I mean? You know, that's not your thing. So I can understand it's a little difficult, but I mean, then. Being on camera and so on and so forth. Not to say that there aren't a lot of Asian people that dance really well. I'm not saying that.
Oh, no, let me tell you, man, when it comes to breakdancing,
I know.
Created right here in the U.S., if that makes it to the Olympics, they're going to take the gold every time. And I don't know if it's their martial arts, culture or whatever, but they are absolutely incredible.
Balance and hand and eye coordination.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just, it's crazy, And there's nothing wrong with certain tribes have certain, gifts in certain areas. There's nothing wrong with capitalizing on those gifts, whatever they might be. You know what I mean?
Right.
Certain people are good at certain stuff. Other people shouldn't do the stuff other people do because they're not good at. I mean, they should just stay over there for a minute. You'll
never see me figure skating.
There you go. There you go. One time I was figure skating. I was skating backwards one time. I think I was like 16, skating backwards at the rink, trying to be all badass in front of the ladies or whatever. I'm skating backwards, man. Then I locked my 2 skates together, and they went together, and I just went, and I flew up in the air, and I came down and landed on the back of my skull. I woke up on the bleachers.
Was that the one in San Diego?
Yeah.
The one in Normal Heights?
Exactly.
Yeah, across from Fox Theater.
Exactly.
Where it is. Yep.
Yeah, that's where I also learned if you ever fight somebody who plays hockey, never fight them on the ice, dude. Never fight them on the ice. Right, Bruce? You're muted, Bruce. Bruce, you're muted. I know you're saying something good, too.
I can't lose a fight on ice, man. I played competitive hockey for 13 years. You learn how to do it, right?
That's right.
You go to those vicious tournaments in Quebec with the natural animosity between the French and the English, and it used to get crazy.
You want to get
right?
crazy?
I growing up, I did more fighting on ice than I did in the school playground.
You want to get
crazy?
Always
on it.
You want to get crazy right now? Mr. Gates used to go to the video store that Epic Journeyman had when he was in Vegas.
Yeah, I lived right across the street from him.
Check that out. Believe that or not. Go ahead, Epic Journeyman. Come on in there. No. Go ahead.
It's just all these weird. I tell you, we talk about it all the time. It's like Forrest Gump for so many of us, right? We've been in all these overlapping historical moments that we all seem to overlap again later in life, right? It's a trip. And I wonder if everybody does that and they're just not as aware, right?
Well,
like a lot of people, maybe it happens, they just don't find out, you know?
You guys.
That honestly blew me away when we first met and you told me that, because it was such a small store.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a big city, and that you told me the name of it. I was like, dude, that was my video store.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a Vietnamese restaurant now, and the night drop's still there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That is funny, man.
Yeah, the world is very big, man, but you will cross paths with
well, check this out. Epic Journeyman actually met me when I was in junior high, dude. And and the thing is like, there's no way he could have known what color this one skateboard I had was unless he met me. You know what I mean? And he's like, you had that light blue skateboard, didn't you? And I was like, I did, because
Jimmy wouldn't let me ride it, man.
I wouldn't let nobody ride it, because back then they used to make these boards out of fiberglass. If you fell off of it and it smashed into something, it would start smashing the fiberglass, and then it would get all messed up. So I wouldn't let nobody ride that thing. Sorry about that, Epic. I couldn't let you ride my board. But
what cracks up about that time frame too is it was, I think it was on a Saturday. It wasn't during the school day, or maybe after school, but I think it was a Saturday. And it was back then, people don't even remember how this used to be. It's like going to the airport. You can go in barefoot and see your wife off, or your friend in the terminal, right?
Yeah.
And back then you could go to school out of school hours and go play in the playground and go ride your skateboard around the school and all that stuff. Like, you can't possibly do that today, right? I mean, what a different world it really is.
Yeah, we also had dirt bikes and rode over the top of a giant mountain over to another city and rode on tracks.
Yeah.
That shit wouldn't happen today, no way. Hey, other stuff that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen because there's no freedom of speech. And here at Revolution Radio, you can come on down and support free speech, become a Patreon, become a patron of the station. And make a donation if you're listening now and you haven't made a donation. Well, someone paid it forward for you last time. And every month, the rent man comes around. He gets red ass. And his hand's always out. And he's got a stink face. And he gets sour quick. And there's one thing that you don't like. And that's sour rent man face. So, come on down before it's too late. You don't want to tune in, turn on, and find out one day that it's not here anymore. It's nothing but dead air, because everyone thought someone else was going to do it. That's what happens.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. If there's one thing that's in jeopardy right now, it is the freedom of expression.
Mm-hmm.
It's unprecedented the levels they're going to suppress the freedom of speech. People think for themselves. It's Orwellian, and it's very important that those who support the alternative media continue to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're deplatforming us by the hour.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, speaking of the hour, are you gonna? I'm not gonna let you go yet, man. You got to stick around for at least another 30 minutes, man. Can you do it?
I could do 30 minutes. I could do 30 minutes. Yeah.
Because I know you're busy, man. You probably got a lady friend sitting there waiting with a nice cocktail.
Nah.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
You can't fool old Jimmy.
I'm fresh single, man. Like,
are you really?
I get work done.
Well, you're single and ready. You're single and ready to mingle in the entertainment capital of the world. I mean, I'm sure.
Right. Go down to Crazy Horse too.
No way. That's the last place.
That's why I said it. I'm joking. Yeah, there was a girl who worked there back when I had the video store. Beautiful, beautiful girl. You might have seen her. She came in all the time. I mean, she was a stunner, when she'd come in. Anyway, and she was like really friendly, like the nicest girl from the Midwest or whatever. You never dreamed that she was a stripper, right?
And then all of a sudden, she just went the other way. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just pointing that out. Like, and just like Bruce worked at the strip clubs, it's the same kind of thing.
Seems like we've all, for some reason or another, it seems like this whole group of people. And I know Rock and Rio, are you there? Because I know you're over there. I know you've been to a strip club or two yourself. I mean, so, but it is kind of like a pirate ship tonight. There are no ladies here aboard, so can see why we're.
Epic. Did you ever go to Club Paradise in Vegas?
I think so. Which one is that? Is that the one over there by the video arcade and all that stuff for the games where they used to?
No. It was right across the street from the Hard Rock, the old Hard Rock.
Oh, right, the old Hard Rock. No, I didn't go to that one. I worked across the street at that hotel, right? The
Red Roof Inn.
No, it starts with A. And then I may not worked at it. I was doing the construction there. I was an electrician at the time, and I was there for the convention. Oh, quick little thing.
You were there for the convention with some tools on, acting like electrician.
Well, no. So I was on top of the roof, right? And it was and what's her name that wrote the interview with Empire was staying there.
It's almost.
But the point is, the convention, there was this prostitute there at lunchtime, and this blonde girl. And we watched her. There's like a crew of us, 5 on the roof. Watched her get in like 6 cars in the span of our lunch, lunchtime.
Oh yeah, no, that's
No, it's horrifying. Like you'll never look at that the same way again. Like, oh man, no.
Yeah, especially in that. Yeah, I worked at Paradise for 15 years. That's what I was asking.
Oh, okay, no, I didn't.
Wow.
What did you do? Were you a bartender?
I didn't go to the strip really. I went to all the ones off strip, right? Except what's that one downtown? They used to have the awesome happy hours for football.
Well, listen,
nights, right?
listen. We gotta go. We gotta go. We'll be right back.
I'll tell you what.
Go ahead, Drews. Before we go, go ahead.
Working in a strip joint is like an inoculation against the wiles of strippers, man. You don't want anything to do with them when you see them like 7/24, man.
Right,
they're crazy. Every one of them bitches, crazy.
Bruce McDonald, MAC, Donald, Amazon, Emmett Gates, the haterazzi. Where do they find your podcast? Wherever podcasts are found, that's where. We'll be right back.
Yep, just search for haterazzi Radio, and you'll find me. Even here on YouTube.
Oh, sweet. Well, let's talk about that when we come back. I didn't know you had a YouTube channel.
Right on.
All right, we'll be right back. And if you're on the round table with us tonight, you got about 5 minutes of free time to go do whatever it is you need to do. My name's Jimmy. It's Revolution Radio. All right. We're off the air over on Revolution Radio. So.
Right on.
Yeah, we think we come back at like 3 minutes after. So it's 58 right now. So it's like 5 minutes. If you got to go to the bathroom, get something to drink or whatever. I'm gonna play some music.
I'm curious.
Go ahead.
I'm curious about the technology back end on a streaming radio station. What Yeah, what are you using?
We use radio.co. They got the infrastructure all built out. You just program, and it's a good setup, man. It's the best one we've been able to find.
Nice.
But yeah, it's 24-hour streaming. They take care of it, everything, and yeah, it's a good setup, man. And if you come over with us, you'll be able to kind of see the inner workings of the back end.
Yeah. What do they charge a month?
I don't know because I didn't deal with that part of it. But I think we paid by the year. And there's other expenses that go too. If you're going to play music, you got to have licensing and stuff like that, which they don't really trip on from what I understand. But just for your own, and especially what we're going to be doing, we want to make sure we have all our, it's going to,
I'm looking at it right here. So the premium is $199 a month. 75 bandwidth is 75 terabytes. Unlimited DJs or hosts.
Yeah,
man, that is, anybody could start a radio station now. That's incredible, man.
Oh yeah, man, it's a great setup. That's what we ran. We ran Aftermath off of that as well.
Oh, no kidding, eh? So so you can set it all, configure it so you call into the stream service on Skype and all that stuff.
Well, that would be, it's up to the individual host because what they just provide the infrastructure, So
okay, right.
So basically, you sign up, you'll get an invite to be a DJ, and so your time, whatever time slots you have. When that time comes up, you'll be the only one who's able to go in there to go live. Like everything goes on, so whatever setup you have in your studio there, that's what you'll be, you'll have access to. So however you take calls, however you do your thing, that's completely up to you.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. And what's really nice about it too is you have a playlist, right? A default playlist. So if your internet shuts down or your power goes out, as long as we have like past shows, recorded shows, one of those will automatically kick in. So there'd never be dead air.
All right, so I'm gonna have to.
So you can. So do you keep the library on their servers?
I need to go back. I need to go back. Okay.
Oh, okay.
No worries.
Go ahead.
No worries. Just let me go.
Bruce, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. I'll hook you guys up. Here we go.
Right on.
Yeah. Hang on. Jesus, it's dead air. It's dead air. Oh my God. It must be the CIA trying to break in. No, it's not. It's in the microcosm. There's no black helicopters over my house. Revolution Radio. You can hear the crinkling of snacks because it's late night style. And you never know. I mean, it is California. Weed is illegal in California for recreational purposes or whatever else you want to use it for. And I think it's legal in Las Vegas, Nevada. Is it not legal there now? It's legal?
Oh, no, it is. Totally.
Oh, that's good.
It's not legal in Hawaii, of all places for it not to be legal.
They used to. If you were in Nevada.
It's funny because when I got off the plane the other day and I came out I was in Newark Airport, right? And as soon as I went out the front door, the first thing I smelled was somebody burning one. I was like, wow.
You know what's funny? It's the number one state that people are moving out of. Everyone thinks it's California. It's not. It's New Jersey. It's the number one state people are moving from.
Yeah. Well, New Jersey, I'm sure New York is actually not far behind.
No, you're going someplace.
Yeah, New York is crazy.
Yeah.
Mr. Gates.
It's definitely becoming a thing over here. We're turning into California. I think enough people have already left California to all those that want to get out. Now it's like our turn to get out.
Right.
Well, it's California without the weather, right? I mean, Well, you know what, the weather from this week, it was a big heat wave in the west this week, but 116 up there in Jimmy's area, neck of the woods there. But still, I mean, yeah, at least California generally has good weather. And, you know, the thing about the Northeast is that it has really good weather for a couple months out of the year. And the rest of it is either way too hot and humid or way too cold, and way too rainy and way too snowy.
Yeah, but, you know, you look at it, too. We have the 4 seasons. You know, we get the... In some respects, it's kind of nice. In other respects, it's not. You know.
This has been What's Your Weather Around the World with Rock and Rio, Epic Journeyman, Mr. Gates, the haterazzi, and Bruce McDonald. Bruce, what's your weather like over there? Constant 70 degrees, sort of similar to San Diego? San Diego's got the 70 degrees at the most days of the year of any place. Go ahead, Bruce. Bruce, you're muted. We can't hear a word you're saying. Look at it.
That's some amateur hour stuff. I was waiting for you to. Jimmy, it's a perfect climate over here for human habitation. You need neither heat nor air conditioning. How many places do you think are like that?
San Diego.
Yeah, it's like in Fahrenheit, because I'm the only Commonwealth guy on this call. God bless the Queen. Anyways,
well, it's funny you should bring that up. I mean,
it's about 82 during the day, and about 68 to 72 at night. Perfect for sleeping, man. I mean, the only thing is, like, all my neighbors live in wood houses, right? And I got the earth bag house with the 22-inch Mayan walls. So it stays cool in here all day. Like, I can sleep till noon, no problem. But if I'm sleeping in a wooden house up here, you can't go much past 6:30. It's heats up like a microwave.
Well, so if the big bad wolf comes in front of the house and huffs and puffs, he won't be able to blow your house down. But everybody else with those wood shacks, they're just gonna be gone.
Jimmy, a 50 cal bullet couldn't penetrate these walls.
Well, let me just say, you better have. I mean, down in San Diego today, there was 110-mile-an-hour winds in San Diego, left over from a hurricane down in Mexico. Bruce, 110-mile-an-hour winds, man. You know, the thing is when you think about designing a home in a high wind or hurricane area prone, the dome is the best way to go, my friend. The dome, just simply because of the way the wind goes around it. It doesn't tear off. These hard edges will get torn off consistently. The constant rebuilding, Bruce. The resetting. Bruce can't hear us, I don't think. He looks like he just hung up. Could you guys hear?
Yes, he got disconnected here.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a did we lose the network too?
I don't think so.
The Windows totally changed.
Let me see
I see. Yeah,
no, the network is still here.
Yeah, okay. All right. Hey, network, how you doing? It's good to see you.
Hi, network.
New chat.
Yeah,
room.
no, it scared me for a second there. Yeah, no,
don't get scared.
This new Skype window's freaking me out.
All right, well, don't be scared. Old Jimmy's,
right.
Jimmy's right here. I know you're the Sandman, but don't worry, I got you. I got your back. I'm over here. So we're here with the haterazzi, Epic Journeyman, and Rock and Rio. So Rock and Rio. Now, someone just brought up the Queen. Oh, it was Bruce because he said he's from the Commonwealth. Well, apparently Australia's saying F the Commonwealth. Have you heard about this?
No, I have not heard that.
Australia's saying
Australia
F. Yeah, Australia's saying F Uncle Chuck, F Chucky. We're not part of the Commonwealth anymore. We're just over here. We're be about.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't like him because of the family situation, the thing with Diana, and how that all went down, and his wife.
You mean the murder?
Yeah, the murder.
Exactly. You mean he's disliked because he murdered his child bride who was brought into the family just to breed?
Well, and her son William was plucked out of her belly, cesarean style, right at the precise spring equinox moment that's about to be justified at 9/11.
Oh wow!
Coming up, what's happening?
Yeah.
Well,
and did you know that as part of the Queen's 70th Jubilee too? This was a whole nother ritual that they were involved in. They put her face or her images all across Stonehenge. Whereas the ascension of the the royals to becoming gods.
Well, let me say this.
Yeah. And they did that for just a few weeks ago.
She was 90.
So it was kind of like a predictor that she was on her way out the door.
She's 96.
Yeah, 9 and 6.
And this was her Jubilee year. If you look at all the documentation, her little logos and royal crests around this whole thing, it's nothing but 9s and 6s and 6s and 9s everywhere. It's like 69.
You know what's really sad?
What's that?
Charles had to wait till he was in his 70s to become a king.
Well, that's why some people say he may hand the crown to the young man William, because there's some people. Some people say William
Charles may just not last that long. He is in his 70s, right? I mean,
right.
Maybe he'll hold the crown for 5 years or 10 years or whatever, and then.
Some people say that William may just be the Antichrist.
Cue the Omen music, right? Yeah.
Seriously, no, man. I mean, listen.
No, I've heard that theory. It's interesting. Going way back, that it came out in like 2002. People were talking about that.
See.
Back in the heyday of the internet and broadband was catching on big.
Yeah.
And the Prince William thing was a real thing.
I didn't make it up.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I'm not even saying it's true or not, but I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it seems a little.
We're a toaster.
Yeah, it seems there's definitely an Easter egg there.
There's an appliance in the background. Yeah. You know what's funny about this? Her dying at 96 thing, is that on at least 3 network news programs have to catch. At least 3 of them they go, it was such a shock. She's 96. It's not a shock.
Right.
Jeez.
Say that.
Right.
What do you think about the Queen, man? Do you think she's the lizard queen? There's people saying she's gone. The lizard queen is gone. Long live the king now. King Chuck.
I think she's been gone. I think they've just been playing us.
I think you're right, dude. I think you're right.
They just waited till the right news day to break it.
Did they play us when Tupac got shot in Vegas? Was that a play?
No, he really got shot.
He did, really?
Yeah.
So there's nothing to that thing where he met the dude who had AIDS when he was shooting that movie, and he made this whole deal with the guy in the background because he already knew he was gonna die. So
no, he got shot by some gangbangers. That was it.
Did you ever see that video where
which one?
Suge Knight is at the airport and he gets on one of those buses, that takes you out to the rental cars.
Yeah.
And this dude, some dudes are sitting on there, and then Suge Knight gets on there with a couple guys that are with him. They're just getting on their mind, their own business. They're not doing anything. They're not trying to make a big noise about being there or nothing. They're just casual or whatever. But this dude recognizes him, and immediately he fucking gets on him with his phone, and he starts asking him about Tupac. And then the way Suge Knight said a couple things, it like I never would have considered it, but when I saw this one video, it was just the way he said what he said that it wasn't really funny to me, and it wasn't funny to the guy that heard it, but it was funny to the 2 guys standing behind him. They started they started laughing. It was like an inside joke. And
what did he say?
He said something about him being down in Cuba or something, and it was like there's a whole thing around Tupac's mom, Tupac's aunt. Literally. I've heard people making presentations about Tupac's aunt, who was part of a radical group during the 70s, being literally. Yeah, literally being broken out of fucking jail in New Jersey and leaving and going to Cuba.
Yeah, she's still there now.
It's wild, man. It's a wild story. It's and I don't think most people really even know much about any of it either. Which is interesting. But I mean, what do you think because the reason for him getting killed? Well, do you think that was the real reason? Epic Journeyman was there when it happened too. Was you at the same time? Go ahead.
Yeah, that would have been about the time I was going to Epic's store.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He was there too. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's the James Dean effect. You know, James Dean died in a car wreck like a week after making a public service announcement about driving safe. So it came off, you know, he was at his height, he was young, and, you know, the kids loved him. So, you know, something like that is bound to happen. But I know people who worked in the hospital, you know, who were there when his body came in, and they were like, yeah, no, he's really dead. I don't think it was as conspiratorial as a lot of people make it out to be. Some people say Suge had something to do with it, but then why would Suge, you know, risk his own life? Because he was in the line of fire. You know, when in fact he got grazed by one of the bullets.
Well, wasn't there some whole thing around this Freeway Ricky and the Compton Police Department, and there was all this thing around cocaine and all this stuff that was going on? I mean, I don't know if that was part of what was going on with Tupac, but it was definitely part of where some of the money for Death Row Records came in, right?
Oh, well, yeah, Death Row Records is definitely a psyop. If you look at hip hop in its infancy, you know, we're talking late 70s, early 80s, the entire decade of the 80s, hip hop, which, you know, represented the American black male. There were, you know, and if any of you guys have black friends, you know that we are not a monolith. Yeah. You got the nerdy black dudes, you got the hippie black dudes. Yeah. You know, the revolutionary black dudes, and you got the gangbangers, and all of those were represented in hip hop at that time. You had Will Smith, he was a funny, fun-loving guy. You had De La Soul, who were the hippies. You had, you know, all these different flavors of representation. Suddenly, 1992, the riots go down in LA, Bloods and Crips start to come together, and somebody said, okay, hold on. So 1992, that marks the end of the Cosby Show, which was a great representation for black people at the time. You had A Different World, which I would say inspired thousands of black kids to go to college. You had Public Enemy, their last relevant album.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. I wanted to ask you about that because to me, there was a moment there when Public Enemy, they were doing stuff with music that no one was doing before, and some of the way that they were sampling and layering stuff. And we did a show about that, about how some of those noises and some of these different high-pitched sounds and all this stuff became like a dog whistle, and how it's, you know, it's repetitive. What I'm just saying, but they started to catch on, and they had a whole different viewpoint. I mean, their idea was not bitches and hoes or whatever, and, you know, how much money you could have. But the thing is when they destroyed them with the grift thing, that's when all you started to see all this other this Dr. Dre shit and all this other, like, different kind of a lifestyle kind of starting to materialize around this type of music.
Well, the rappers and rappers like Chuck D and Public Enemy, KRS-One, Poor Righteous Teachers, these guys were all about knowledge of self. They were encouraging their audience to read on their history, you know, positive. It was positive stuff, you know, respect women, all of that. And at the same time, you had Professor Griff, you know, who had who made the controversial statements. And at that same time, too, Ice Cube, who had left NWA and went to New York and hooked up with Public Enemy, he started to have a conscious edge to his work, too.
Well, hold on a second.
Let
me let people know just in case. So Professor Griff was head of security for Public Enemy, and so they had gotten a book from the Nation of Islam that they were reading as they were cruising around going on tour, and they were all reading this book in the bus. And then Professor Griff got out of the bus one day, and this dude had come up to him and started talking to him, want to interview him. And so he made a few comments about the tribe, and, you know, he made some comments about Jewish people being in charge of the entertainment business and this, that, and the other thing. And so what they did was they took what he said and turned it into him being racist, and then literally beat the Public Enemy to death with it, with this whole anti-Semitic thing, and to the point where they couldn't even really, they probably couldn't even get 10 people to show up at a gig. And but then meanwhile, here comes Dr. Dre in a 6'4", you know, and some gin and juice, and he's bouncing his bitches and hoes for the next decade, you know, and degrading all the youth in a way, because I mean, let's face it, like you just got done saying a minute ago, not all black people are thugs, and so the constant repetitive of this thug culture creates thugs, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what color you are. If everybody's listening to, you know, thug repertoire, then we'll all become thugs, right? It's like that movie Swingers or whatever. You know. So.
Yeah. See, but back in that time too, you know, being a black teenager at the time, you know, because there was the representation in hip hop, which is where all kids are going to get their, especially black kids are going to get their, you know, their swag from. You know, there was that variety in hip hop, so you could tell by the way a kid dressed which rappers they were into, and so gangbangers had a very distinct style of dress. So when we were at a party and the gangbangers decided to get into it, they didn't bother us. They would just walk right past us because they knew that we were not part of that life.
Right.
Jump forward to today, you cannot tell the difference. You know, the fashion is the fashion. You can't tell, like, okay, is this kid a banger? Because it's no longer about red and blue anymore. I mean, it still happens, but now it's just.
I'll just tell you guys, if you want to laugh your ass off, go on YouTube and type in "throwing up fake gang signs in the hood."
I saw that.
Man, that was so funny, wasn't it? It's like you know, he comes off
dangerous.
I know, but it was just, you got to admit though, that shit was absolutely. Go ahead, Bruce.
You can't tell. Mr. Gates is right though. You can't tell anything about people's appearance now. I mean, you can have women with master's degrees in sociology who teach yoga, who are tatted up like a Hell's Angels nomad with 12 kills under their belt.
I know, dude.
It's crazy.
When I was a teenager, if a dude had a tattoo on his neck, and then he was a stone cold killer. That was a stone. If you had a tattoo on your neck, you were a stone cold killer. I mean, no one had a tattoo on their neck.
Absolutely, it was easier to tell.
Right. I want you guys hit 1992, and I think there's an interesting thing there about that, right around that time frame, because we're talking about when Tupac, the incident in Vegas, and I was there. I wasn't there right when it happened. I mean, I was there in Vegas when it happened, and like everybody else who lived in Vegas, I was watching it on TV, the fight, right? You know, it was on paper. It was a big event, right? And so I worked at the video store the next day, and a popular. I won't say he was popular, but a guy who came in often, a customer, came in. He was in all the time, and he drove up on the crime scene basically when it happened, or supposedly happened to him. He didn't believe it. He didn't believe it at the time. So there was one of those lifetime things where he thought it was staged to him. So that was one guy saying that, right? So, but I didn't. I just saw the news like everybody else did. But what I remember about this, which ties into what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, which I think is really interesting, is that that was the year, basically, 1991, 1992, when we went from, when we talked about our reality, we started going from analog TV to start going to digital TV. So we started going, we were in digital TV, yeah, but you know, it was out there in the trade shows and things like that. And we had, the big important one is, we talked about dimensions like 2D and 3D. We went from sprite-based video games and entertainment to 3D polygons. And there was a generation, a magazine called Next Generation magazine, which was all about the move to this new polygonal-based way of doing computer animation. And I think it was episode number 1. It goes, "Are games becoming too real?" And it stuck with me. It stuck with me because the point that was making was it was going from that 2D playing with sprites, playing Street Fighter 2, to doing Tomb Raider and things like that, and making the 3D games that we have today, which nowhere near as good as they are today, right? But we're talking about AR and VR and things like that. But this was the first step that made that happen, and this ties into what we were talking about earlier because what happened? the first person brought back that way was Tupac, right? Tupac.
Right.
The first hologram actually at a concert performing was Tupac.
Wow.
Well, you know what's interesting about Tupac is Tupac didn't even want to be on death row. You know, if you listen to Tupac's early music, now you got to keep in mind, Tupac was the first artist signed to Interscope Records, which is a behemoth now. But he was the first rapper there. He had his own thing going. He had his own label. All of his music was about uplifting young black people. It was, keep your head up and stuff like that. And Tupacalypse Now, because, he was the child of Panthers, of actual Black Panthers. But he had the James Dean effect. Once he played in the movie Juice, because I was 18 at the time. So all of us wanted to be Tupac because we saw the way the girls were swooning over him. And we were like, oh, dude, I wish I was him. And so they needed him. And he rejected them quite a few times. He ends up getting shot that first time. And then he ends up going to prison. Now, you tell me who goes to prison for rape, and then somebody can walk in, get him to sign a contract on a napkin, and then get him right out. Right? There was something, I'm telling you, this whole Death Row Records thing, there's something behind it. Now, I can't prove it, but I just look at the effect it's had, that Interscope Records has had on the culture. I mean, even now, white kids had always just been observers to hip hop. They were just like, hey, we love this shit because it's adventurous. Like, a lot of these kids living in the suburbs. This is just like an action film to them. Enter Eminem. Eminem created a whole culture of angry white kids. The whole pill popping shit and all that. Like, he started that trend. Right? Interscope Records, Dr. Dre, the same players. And I think Dr. Dre was rewarded for his work by becoming the first billionaire in hip hop, at the time. Ice Cube, again, he had went Black Power too. Once he left NWA, he went to New York, hooked up with Public Enemy. He started to have a more revolutionary tone too, until 1992. Then he went straight back to gangster. And I think he was rewarded with a Hollywood career after that, because he's never went back to that stuff, And so it's very interesting, when you hear about that rumored meeting that was had, where the record labels had come together with the owners of privatized prison and vowed to work together, because they say, we got to fill these prisons up.
Yeah. Well,
music is a hell of a way to do it.
Have you seen this video? I know. Well, the thing is, I like to point out how the whole baggy pants with your ass hanging out, it means it's like sending up a flag when you're in prison. But they don't know it. But like all these dudes are walking around with their ass hanging out of their pants or whatever, dragging their Adidas slippers or whatever on the ground.
Right.
I mean, next thing you know, it's got Calvin Klein's got that whole thing covered. He's got labels on those 6,000 thread Egyptian cotton boxers or whatever hanging out of the back of your, Calvin Klein jeans. So it's the bottom of the hour, my friend. Are you going to stay or are you going to go? Should I stay or should I go? I know it's going through your mind right now.
Do me a favor, because I do have to go. Go ahead and show, if you will, if you can. Show the teaser. We'll talk about it for a minute.
All right, let me get it. Hold on a second. Let me get it.
Okay.
I want
to it's a good point, by the way, about the tie-in to filling up those prisons, because that's absolutely true.
Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely.
Continue.
Right.
I'll continue while I grab this video.
Yeah, it's just, you just got to look at the culture, of the youth. They're very, we were all that age at one time. I don't care what era you grew up in. It was the music that set the tone for the culture you were in, right? And so even going back to our parents' generation, the boomers, they were inspired by Elvis, and they would try to look like him. They were inspired by, James Brown or whoever appealed to them at the time. And you look at now, like I said, a lot of the white kids who would have, who would generally had better options in life are now choosing to put tattoos on their face. They're choosing to become that. You got a lot of good black kids who grew up, in two-parent homes, who are choosing to now embody this culture because why wouldn't you? You look on TV, you see this, this cat who can't even speak English hardly, who's got metal in his mouth, he's got chains, he's got women, so they're like, well, shit, why should I go to school? Why should I learn anything more when I can just be ignorant? And I'll have a chance to do that too. Unfortunately, the majority of those kids are going to end up dead or in prison.
It's part.
Trying to.
It's part
live
of
up
the
to
license plates. Yeah.
It's part of
or the very Adidas that they're wearing before they go to jail.
Right.
It's part of the It's part of the dumbing down of America. I mean, it's part of. It's part of.
I was just reading that book last week by Harold Bloom.
Yeah, I mean Go ahead, Bruce. I mean, I'm just saying. The thing is, and the thing is that it would seem to me that, let's just say, you were in a position financially, whatever your color is, you're in a position financially to have to live the thug life. But you would aspire to someday not live in the thug life and having your kids grow up in a safe environment and go to college or whatever, and have that same kind of dream. You know what I mean? So, but now it seems that the people that were already living the lifestyle that people who don't have as much dream about are now in a race to the bottom. So you used to have people aspiring higher, and now what we have is a generation of people spiraling down into mediocrity, where everything is just one beige color. It's not this, it's not that. It's just everything's mixed together. There is no flavor. It's just like a gray goo. We're all wearing jumpsuits, getting our, weekly stipend down at the, Walmart in the future. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding on that. But seriously, though, I'm trying to get this video going. Here we go. All right, I think I got the screen here now on YouTube so I can show this. All right, now, here comes the piece for freeworld.fm. Hold on, here we go.
We have taken their children. We are on the cusp of taking their weapons. But until we take their tongues, our operation shall remain incomplete.
Free World FM. Coming soon. So, Mr. Gates, what's the secret word tonight on the microcosm as far as when is...
That we are trying to be up and running by the end of this month.
Fantastic.
We're gonna do a bunch of testing. Jimmy, you'll be included in that.
Sweet.
You'll be included, and once we iron that out, we're gonna make it official.
All right.
I don't want to give a date right now, just in case. But just know that we're right. The website's ready. We just got to make sure our programming and our infrastructure can hold itself up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm confident that we can.
Badass. Well, hey, man. Go ahead, you guys. Mr. Gates is going to be heading out the door here. So, Rock and Rio, Epic Journeyman. Bruce McDonald, jump in here before Mr. Gates takes off. Any last words for Mr. Gates, you guys there, before he goes? I see him getting ready.
To meet you.
Oh, you too, brother. We'll be talking real soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got one foot out the door, and who can blame him, ladies and gentlemen? He's in the capital of entertainment, the entertainment capital of the world. Hey, let me ask you a question now before you go.
Yeah.
I don't want to catch you off guard, but you said you had friends in the hospital when this happened, so you know that something happened.
Yeah.
Did you have these same friends in the hospital when the Vegas shooting happened?
No, I had friends in the casino when that happened, and there was definitely something up with that. And I have friends who were actually at the event.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, my little cousins were there. They're into country music.
Well,
so
listen,
they were there.
maybe you can come back and we can talk about some of that Vegas stuff, because there's lots of people who have questions about it. And man, you were like literally there at the time. So The chat room's thanking you over there. Everybody loves you, man. Thanks for being here. Haterazzi.
Hey, thank you guys. Yeah, check me out, Haterazzi Radio, wherever you get your podcast. Stay hooked up with Jimmy so you'll know when freeworld.fm is gonna drop.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys are gonna love it there. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here, man. Great conversation. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen.
Right on. Take it easy, guys.
Take it easy. There he goes.
Be well.
Jennifer Lopez, she was waiting for tonight. I think they made that video for the year 2000 when you were going into the new millennium. You know what I'm saying, Bruce? You know, now coming up.
J-Lo got married again.
Did she really? Well, 9/11's coming up too. So I mean, seems like these.
She married Ben Affleck again.
Did she?
Yeah.
That's a trip, you know, because I was wondering about Ben Affleck and her a while back, and then the next thing I saw was news about her and Ben Affleck. It was the weirdest thing.
So Jennifer is a thing again?
Apparently.
It's on, Jimmy. It's on.
It must have been on all the levels, on all the etherics. The etherics were in harmony on the mountain over there with Bruce McDonald. He noticed a ripple in the force, and sure enough, J-Lo back with Ben Affleck. What are you gonna do? I mean, let's face it. I mean, I'm sure that guy she was with was a good-looking dude or whatever, but he wasn't tall, dark, and handsome. I mean, he was small, dark, and handsome. Really, I guess how you would describe him. If you were
the Yankees baseball player. Yeah. Well, it must be Matt Damon's going to Mars. That must be what it means.
Must be.
So, yeah.
I don't know, but I tell you one thing. I noticed how much Eddie Arnold looks like Trump earlier today. It's like if you look at Eddie Arnold, the guy that was in Green Acres.
Right.
I saw him. I saw him today. He was playing a character where he had red hair. And he was spazzing out. He was sitting in some chair and it looked like an interview situation. He was just going through these motions. You know, he was motioning.
Well, he's fantastic in Head Office with Judge Reinhold. In what's her name from Live and Let Die, Jane Seymour. Great movie. If you guys have never seen it, just cue that one up someday. It's one of the best 80s comedies I've seen.
What's it called?
Head Office. And Eddie Arnold's the CEO of this company. Judge Reinhold's the guy just getting out of college. He's like, his first gig. And Jane Seymour's the vice president. And it's just about 80s grift, basically, in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. So I thought maybe you were referring to that. And Eddie Arnold's fantastic in it. He's like the ultimate jerk asshole guy.
He's a trip,
in an 80s corporate way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Eddie Albert. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
What did I...
Eddie Arnold. Yeah. So when he goes to it ties to ABBA too, because they have Sal the limo driver. He's trying to get people to listen to ABBA when he has the limo parked. He's trying to hook up with girls on the curbside. And he's like, "Hey, I got ABBA." He's getting stoned. He gets stoned, and he ends up trying to go to Allen. It's supposed to be Allenville. It was like Allentown, right? And he goes and he keeps driving by the exit. Hey, Sal, wasn't that the Allenville exit? Oh, I'll just flip you in to get lost for like 2 hours. Yeah, it's a great movie, man. It is.
Tetra in the chat said it was Eddie Albert, not Arnold, not Eddie Arnold, and he said Arnold.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Arnold was the pig.
Rapids. Yeah.
But there was a dude named Eddie Arnold. But
no, there was actually. And Arnold, of course, you were tied to. Always have to have a Pulp Fiction reference.
Pig has personality. Personality goes a long way. I know. We should just do one night. We should just do a show where all we say is lines from Pulp Fiction.
Right. Like have a timer. You got 30 seconds to make a Pulp Fiction reference, so we can talk about whatever we want. This might be a great game. And then we have to start the timer. And sometime before 30 seconds is up, you have to make a line from Pulp Fiction. I bet we can do it. Pull that off.
I bet we could. Because what I want to talk about right now ain't the coffee in my kitchen, man. You know what I'm saying? No. It's Rockin' Rio. What did you find on the new Lizard King? Now, I know he spoke today. And I don't even know what he said, but I think it sounded like what somebody was saying. He said that wants to be in charge of militarily enforcing the Great Reset. But I mean, I guess.
Who is the Lizard King? I've lost the nickname.
It's what
here.
The F Chuck.
No. Chuck, the address that I heard was just before the church service for the Queen. He pretty much said, he talked about his mother and her life of service and, how he is assuming the role and will continue to serve the people and, announce the titles of the children, because now that he's the king, there's a new Prince of Wales and stuff like that. He kind of went through it. It was very typical, kind of what you expect. It was a stiff upper lip presentation kind of thing. But yeah, I've got a bunch of it in reverse, and there's some interesting stuff in here.
Well, there's lots of people that are saying she's been dead all this period of time, and and they're just rolling it out right at this particular moment because, the 9/11 anniversary is coming up, and there happens to be some strategical, benefit from these astrological alignments.
Yes, except the only problem with that is it was, 2 or 3 days ago that, they had her on camera live with Liz Truss, the new prime minister.
Well, that's just when that's when they released the tape of the lady that you think was the Queen or whatever. I'm just saying. Let me be the sounding board for the ear of doubt. And let me just say, how do I know?
Have you got a big crack in your windshield?
You got a big crack in your windshield?
That almost sounded like you, Bruce.
I know.
Are you making commercials now?
No, that's what I.
No,
I almost.
Jimmy, are you rocking a full Adidas tracksuit there?
Well, I am from the waist up.
Dude, that's like Armani where I live.
I know. See, if I came over, where you
can't
live,
do any finer. You can't do any finer than a well-stitched foreign tracksuit in Latin America. You may as well be wearing a $5,000 Armani suit.
Start doing Sopranos.
So when they see you coming, they just say, "Here he comes. He's coming from Green Acres."
Green Acres is the place to be.
He's got that tracksuit on. Well,
I got one that's so colorful, yellow and blue. My son calls it my Russian pimp tracksuit.
I know. You just get it out of your Montero after you come down off the plantation.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna be. Once I get that thing raised up 2 inches, I get the new sound. So I'm at another mechanic now. I had another $1,000 worked. I am gonna put four. I mean, this is nothing compared to the kinds of bills Rio gives out for restorations, but this is a heroic undertaking for Costa Rica.
You know what you should do? You should offer Rio an all-expense paid vacation on the mountain in return for pimping out your ride. And he has to come over there, and it'll be Rockin' Rio's Pimp Your Ride Costa Rica, Rio. And you could go to Costa Rica, dude, check it out, and then you could pimp out his Montero real quick. Because Rio does that shit. He does it in his sleep, dude. He could just look at your car, and it'll start fixing itself. Literally.
I would like to learn how to do all that stuff myself. Especially body work, like the bondo and the grinding and the sanding and the primer and the paint and all that. I mean, I would love to restore vehicles over here.
A lot of
I
need just the actual process is fairly simple. As far as I mean, there's a little bit to learn. You have to know how to prep the metal. Right, what grits of sandpaper to use, how to apply the products, But part of it is the skill in your hand. It's like, it's like being a guitar player or anything else. To actually make it look right and feel right and get a proper, smooth reflection on a door or whatever, there's a certain kind of touch you have to have for it.
See, Rio doesn't.
So some people are good at it and some people aren't. And,
Rio doesn't F around.
You may be or may not be.
Rio doesn't F around.
Anybody can apply the product according to the instructions, but getting it right is kind of a whole nother thing.
Man, it's like you could either slop it all on there and try to wipe it off, or you can put just enough of that special wax.
A lot of it's just technique.
That's what I mean.
There's that little bit of
you could be over there,
have it or you don't kind of.
You could be over there with a whole can of wax and all this shit, buffing machines. Rio could just come over there and lean on it with his white T-shirt, and it'll be shinier than whatever you could do. Because that's the kind of brother he is. He doesn't barely even have to do shit. He can just look at your car, and all of a sudden, it starts looking better to you for some reason. He can make you understand. Can make you see the dream, Bruce. See the dream of your Montero.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that vehicle's coming along quite nicely. So, are we gonna be like?
Close your eyes, Bruce.
Are we doing the necromancy tonight? Are we doing the reverse speech? Are we doing the forbidden communication with the Middle Kingdom?
I don't know.
Yes.
Are we going into the forbidden zone, dude? Because you didn't you didn't clarify.
Danger.
Let me go.
You didn't clarify.
Let me go douse my head in some holy water.
I just got a great idea from Drone Free Zone in the chat, actually. He didn't realize he did it, I don't think. And some of the other guys are talking about, make sure you get all the credit words to, I'll look to it later. But talking about the return of the Arthur, right, pulling the sword from the stone. It made me think about what we opened the show with, the Pillow Stone, right? Pulling the sword from the stone, taking the male, the masculine, back from the female. Right.
Interesting.
The king again.
Well, let me just say this.
Isn't that weird? I mean, that is a kind of interesting way of looking at it.
It is. Listen to this.
The poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed, and then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude oil, that is black gold, Texas tea. Well, the first thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there.
Said, California's the place you ought to be.
So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is.
Swim pools, movie stars. Isn't this where that dude comes in from the Deliverance movie? That banjo player? He just comes in. Right here. Come on down. Come on down the river in your raft. We're the Beverly Hillbillies. Come on down.
So Admiral Ron actually gave you the King Arthur tie-in too. I made the analogy with the pulling the sword from the stone being the mill, seizing the mill initiative back from the throne. But yeah, isn't that a trip? I mean, that is kind of more think about that. That is really interesting. I don't know about the King Chucky thing. That might take off.
King Chuck.
King Chuck or King Chucky.
Chucky.
I do think that William's going to take it sooner or later. I do, and that's going to tie a lot into this.
Man, I know.
Willie.
Well, Wet Willie.
Willie gonna go for the throne.
Well, can't have it. Got to have him crowned first. On the top of the 13th step, sitting on Jacob's stone. Literally the stone Jacob leaned on when he saw the stairway to heaven come down out of the sky is on the throne, or under the throne.
Of Elizabeth, yeah.
That's right. Someone's sitting on that throne in a black robe tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Absorbing the energy of the coven. Getting ready for that ceremony coming up. Working through that. Working through the aspects of the ceremony. Rockin' Rio's here. He's been looking at the aspect of the ceremony, haven't you, Rio?
Yeah, a little bit.
Now, I wasn't sure you were coming, so I'm not ready to shout at the devil, but you know what I do have on top is Marky Mark dancing around in his underwear. Good vibrations.
feel it, baby? I do too.
It's Good Vibrations with Marky Mark. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Was that dude?
Jimmy?
Yeah.
Let's speak frankly for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
You think Marky Mark was a man whore? Like in the Alec Baldwin Studio 54 sense?
Well, I'll just say this. I mean, and I
You
can't...
think he was selling his mangina, Jimmy?
Well, let me just say this. I'll say this. I can't say what he did or did not do. But what I can say is I have a personal friend who was up to be a model for one of these Calvin Klein underwear campaigns because he had a ripped 8-pack. This dude had obliques, dude, that were like a tire, like a motorcycle tire. So he was gonna wear those Calvin Kleins, ripping, leaning back and having his abs rip out. And unfortunately for him, there was some rope smoking that was apparently needed to go on, and he wasn't into it. And so he didn't allow his rope to get smoked. And so he consequently did not become that underwear model. Now, whether every single person who became one of those underwear models had to allow the rope to be smoked, I don't know. But I do know this. He's had a long career over there in the movie business and so on.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. No, didn't he do? You know what? He did that movie about porn, didn't he?
But Boogie Nights, and the way he
Boogie
got the
Nights?
role was, he had the way he got the role was I forget who was up against
Because he had a
his last two
giant
actors.
dork.
He was I got 2 inches on whoever it was. I
He
forget
has
who
a
it was.
giant dork.
Yeah,
And that's why.
yeah. So isn't that interesting? And the thing that I'm wondering about now that we're talking about that subject is some lines that always stayed with me. Why'd they stay with me? I don't know. See that ring? You know how I got that? Manhole. See that necklace? You know how I got that? Manhole.
Rock and Rio. It's almost the
Uh-oh.
top. It's almost the top of the hour, my friend. Don't go off half cocked, but give us a little teaser. But before you do, yeah, just before you do though, do people realize that you know the emblem for Shell gasoline? Remember Jordan Maxwell. Remember Jordan Maxwell. Okay, no, I'm just saying. Remember Jordan Maxwell. That is the sun rising. That is not a shell. That is a sun rising from the east. And this is... My name is Jimmy. This is into the microcosm. It's Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Come on down. Become Patreon. Set it up. Become a supporter. Studio A, Studio B. And Hawk's Nest. We're talking about Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Rock and Rio. That's your intro for the reverse perverse, because we were just talking about the perverse nature of Marky Mark's large dork getting him the role in the movie Boogie Nights, and I just happened to pull Boogie Nights up real quick before the break. Now, Rock and Rio, what do you got on Chucky?
There are a few interesting things in here. Some of them are consistent with what we know has been going on in the world recently. And, some of it is just, it's kind of weird. I mean, it's obviously evil. It's obvious that Charles himself has a little bit of evil and some problems with it. It's
So now,
I guess the best way is just to kind of go through it. And
last
see
week, now you dug out this whole bail thing.
Yeah.
And
is there any doubling down on that?
I did not look more into it because of time.
Well, was there any doubling
of course,
down?
The whole Queen and Charles situation.
Well,
today,
that's what he means. He means, was there any language similar to what you heard with Biden's reverse?
No, Charles did not say bow down and worship Baal like Biden was.
Okay, good.
Was promoting, but Charles does talk about the Magus and Satan.
Oh, does he now?
The beast and the mark and.
Oh wow.
The deal.
It's Rock and Rio's reverse perverse circus when we come back after the break. My name's Jimmy. And this is in the Microcosm Brief, MacDonald, epic journeyman, the Sandman himself. Well, we'll be back. Here comes Cool and the gang. Become a supporter, ladies and gentlemen. Know where your money goes. Where your energy flows, that's where your money goes. Alright, network is gone like a rocket. So, it's break time. Let me just say, I got a Keurig coffee maker for my birthday. And I know you know about those, but this one, it's like I got a fucking Starbucks in my kitchen. I can literally walk in there and just press a button, and it comes. Man, I got me a fresh, hot cup of coffee, and that's what I'm going to go get right now. You guys want to chat up on YouTube? Because you're on YouTube. Hey, Amber, what's happening? What's up, Ron? What's up, Ronan? What's up, Drone? What's up, Carrie? Who else is over here? Tetra's over there. Everybody's over there. Chat room. You guys can go check it out over there. There's a bunch of people. In case you're not over there, Bruce, Epic, Rio. But I'm going to go get me one of those hot cup of coffees right now. So you guys want to jump in or you want me to play some? It's up to you.
Musica.
Okay, I'll do that then. And as a matter of fact, I'll play something. Let me see here. Caught me off guard there, man. Hang on. I'll play this here just to get us going, and then I'll switch it up once I get this going. So I don't want there to be a bunch of dead air while my skull is cranking. The wheels are turning in my head of what I'm going to play in this very moment. So for now, it's going to be this.
Homeezy, Marqueezy. This for you, baby. No joke. This for you, fellas. Something I cooked up. till my lungs collapse. Lost $2,000 last night shooting crafts. Then I hit the Ritz and bought a few laps. Just got a letter from my old best friend, doing 25 in a federal pen. Wanna come home, but he said until then, could I look over his 3 children? They wake him up at 5 a.m. for Fruit Loops, draped up in white overalls and black boots. Used to drive a lag sipping gin and juice. Now we need money for some chips and soups. Run
my shoulder and the touch of a world that is older. I turn the switch and check the number. I leave it on when in bed I slumber. I hear the rhythms of the music. I buy the product and never use it. I hear the talking of the DJ. Can't understand just what does he say. I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican whoa. About the U.S. inflation, I understand just a little. No comprende, it's a riddle. I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican, whoa, radio.
Your best friend, the best nutrients for their best life.
I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican, whoa, radio.
Like we come from out of this world, leave the real one far behind. We can dance. We can go if we want to. Night is young and so am I. And we can dress real neat from our hearts to our feet and surprise them with a victory cry. Say we can act if we want to. If we don't, nobody will.
My name's Jimmy. For the next 58 minutes, it's Friday night on the West Coast, deep in the Redwoods. Sitting here with Bruce McDonald, Epic Journeyman. And the time has come.
I never met a salesman like you before. Lions of the world just ripping us apart. Scratch right out along the way. Think I got one more word left to say.
Rock and Rio.
I never met a salesman like you before.
Oh yeah.
I am here.
Excellent.
Ripping us apart.
That was All Them Witches. Marriage of the Coyote Woman. Some good shit, no?
Scratch right out. Nice and slow.
Damn. Only another mile to go. Rock and Rio,
I
are you
gotta
there?
ask a question.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Yeah, what made you lead in with the Men Without Hats there?
Something just, I don't know, man. I hate that song, but for some reason,
I
I
gotta
just
say,
got this feeling to play it. I don't know why.
it's
Go ahead.
synchronicity. I was thinking about that song all day today. So that's weird. And the reason I
You
thought
were
about it was
sending me
because,
vibes, man, dude. You were sending it out because I swear to God, I
because-
hate that song.
yeah, well, me too, actually. But there's two things that came to mind when it happened. So one was, earlier today, right? One was, it was because of the indictment of Steve Bannon, right? Because Steve Bannon ran Biosphere 2. He was CEO of Biosphere 2, which is what the movie Biodome is based on, which they played that song in, right? So that was the first thing that came to my mind when it came into my mind. Like, well, is that why I'm thinking about it, right? And then later on, I was like, wow, dude, we've been talking before on the show. I started thinking about the show all of a sudden, about dancing plagues. And how diabolical is that song in that context? If it's actually talking about dancing plagues, where they dance themselves to death. You can dance if you want to. You can leave this world behind.
You don't have any
dude.
Hey, dude, you don't have any tattoos on your neck, do you?
I do not.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Come on, man.
You don't.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, Rock and Rio. Let's get down to brass tacks, because that's we.
Well, Jimmy, just before we slip into that, there's big thing happened this week, and we haven't said boo about it.
What's that?
And it doesn't matter how you feel about the left or the right in politics. This is about growing fascism. There were FBI raids on like 35 people that worked in the Trump administration. They arrested Steve. They perp walked Steve Bannon, man. They're using the FBI for election optics. Look, I know how you guys feel about Trump, and I'm probably about 3% more positive than you guys about the guy, but unfortunately, there's only two decisions here.
Well, is this?
And
I'll tell you this.
The other one, just seems to want to kill Americans a lot more quickly.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
If Epic Journeyman was a cartoon, okay, right now while you were saying all that, he would be sitting there, and his eyes, there'd be like volcanoes, and you'd be looking in his cartoon eyes, and while you were saying the word Steve Bannon, as the volcanoes in his eyes would start to erupt, and then his whole top of his skull would blow off the top of his head in a giant nuclear-style mushroom cloud eruption, because he hates Steve Bannon. So I'm waiting to hear what he's gonna say. There,
I'm sure Epic is crying tears of joy over the Steve Bannon perp walk.
Well, because he was arrested. He got pardoned by Trump, right? He was already under indictment for that before, on the federal crimes, and he was on Guo Wengui's yacht, right? And then they went and took him from the yacht. They arrested him on the yacht, walked him out then, and then he got pardoned, right? But this is a state one. It's about just grifting. We build the wall, and he was taking the money. it's just that simple. I don't think there's anything diabolical about that. But I will say, as far as Steve Bannon goes, he is both the most evil person in the world that I know of, but the most interesting person in the world I know of too. Like, in other words, he's
okay. Why evil?
Well, because
why do you say evil? He's not murdering the kids or going to the ritual.
No. The ritual part actually he does. So the part he's into a thing called esoteric traditionalism that him and Alexander Dugin share. And so Alexander Dugin is on the Russian side, of course, with the Mother Earth idea, about the motherland fighting the sea people, which is commerce, which is on our side, which is what Bannon represents on our side. But the idea is esoteric traditionalism wants to destroy the earth through accelerationism to rebuild it, so to undo everything and rebuild it from scratch. If everybody dies along the way, that's perfectly fine with them. And that's what he believes in, right? But he's also a very intelligent guy. Was snagged for intelligence and brought to the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown, plucked from his job on, as a lieutenant on a destroyer for that job. And he's found himself in all these, talk about Forrest Gump situations. He married Picard's great granddaughter or granddaughter, the balloon guy, which is the direct, I guess, daughter of the guy who did the Marianas Trench, John-Luc Picard's based on. He ran Biodome or Biosphere 2. He produced movies for Sean Penn, Indian Runner, etc. He ran Goldman Sachs, fresh out of college from the School of Foreign Service, by the way, which is to spook you, and then there's all kinds of interesting things about him.
There's some
guy
shit.
I'd most like to have a beer with him.
Listen,
I really would, but I also think he's absolutely an evil agenda. 100%.
This is what's going on, man. This is what's going on. The Pope dissolved the Knights of Malta leadership. The Pope called home all his resources. They're bringing their money home out of all these foreign banks. They're bringing all their home, and they want it done by the end of September. Okay, the Queen just died. 96. What was the day she died? 9/6. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know if she died 9/6, but it's the harvest moon. There's all this stuff going on, man. There's a lot of psychics that are saying this next couple of months is going to be an intense period of time. I see a supreme
good or bad.
Bad, and I see an intense absence of a lot of A-list celebrities. I see a lot of concerts being canceled in the next 2 months. Go look at all the concerts that have been canceled across the country. Anything that's going on in the next 2 months, all of a sudden they got reasons why they ain't doing. Whatever the reason is, they don't want to. Everybody is pulling their resources back. Look at those put options we talked about earlier today, Bruce. How many put options were put last week? Was 3 times with the amount of put options that were on the 2008 crash or whatever. The so-called.
Yeah, we seem to be primed for something significantly larger than 2007, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, this is undeniable. This is just basic math. I'm amazed it's taken this long to get at the crash point, but
well, I don't think people really understand what goes on and how money is made in these retail environments and how stuff is bought. So let's all rewind real quick to understand where we can be financially right now. Is that look back to what happened. Our supply chain was messed up. These stores were empty shelves, this and that. They were ordering all this stuff, but they weren't getting it. So then eventually the stuff they ordered came in, and then they also ordered new stuff, and that stuff came in too. Unfortunately, they ordered all this stuff just in time for the inflation and the gas costing, $6-7 a gallon in some places. So discretionary spending of Americans, all of a sudden, they stopped spending in the stores. They're not going and buying that Chinese plastic crap in these stores. All of a sudden, they got inventory sitting on these floors. What happens when you hold an inventory, Bruce? You got to pay taxes on it, don't you?
Yeah, and you gotta pay for storage space. I mean, there's a gentle art to supply chain, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole. Let me tell you guys, okay? And I'm sure Epic knows this, but you and Rio might not know this. There's this whole field of like supply chain software. It's written for, like, Amazon would have it, Walmart would have it, and that they tie the barcode right into the database. And just everything was humming to like a 15-minute schedule. So just as all your chickens were nearing their expiry date, they get sold and the new batch comes in. And they just did it all by observing sales patterns. And then marketing can create very predictable sales patterns.
Well, how about if I got 3D? What if I got 3D printers that can just print it up right where I am? And print it up and send it to you right here. Whatever it is. I mean, I'm sure that's coming. Bruce.
Yeah.
So, Epic Journeyman, Rock and Rio's over there still waiting, about to get into this thing here. But I did want to mention that, there's a whole economy that's developing, and it seems to be there's two camps. There's the people that are gainfully employed and those who aren't. But if you are or aren't, it doesn't make any difference, because you're not in these stores buying this plastic shit. And if nobody buys it, what does that do? It means there's a glut of plastic shit. So you're going to see widespread, across the board, price drops in a bunch of shit you don't need. You're going to see stuff that used to cost X, and it's going to be like half price all of a sudden. I mean, you're gonna go.
Real world example.
It's like somebody. Video. Yeah, you're going to be running down the street with a shopping basket full of worthless shit while the whole world goes up in flames behind you. Go get yourself some shit you can carry around, Bruce. Giant 60-inch TV screens for like $20. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, okay, so it's even deeper than that. Okay, so all we ever talk about is the bad stuff in the economy, how it's about to collapse and everything. But the timing with the die-off, I have to be very careful about my language here with your YouTube channel, but some people say, and some very educated and informed people say, that the bulk of, let's call them injury deaths related to a certain medicine will commence after 3 years after you took the medicine. And so the 3 to 5 years after you took them are medically based on the impact research on the technology, which is ribonucleic acid at the level of medicine. At 3 years, it becomes even more dangerous. So we're looking at a situation here, guys, like by 2027, you're going to be able to get like a secondhand, like Toyota Camry, like a 2023 for like $500. There's going to be, because the world has been built out to meet all these demands. So the principal demand is population in the economy, in a supply and demand economy. And that's what ours is. It isn't a controlled society. And, you know, the controlled societies work even worse. I don't think we had one in the 20th century that didn't experience famine. They can't even manage food supply. But our system has weaknesses too, huge weaknesses, and it's like we're hitting all of them at the same time.
There's no demand for this shit except for the artificially created demand for more and more of this plastic shit that you just throw away in a giant heap that doesn't go anywhere for thousands of years. And the thing is the days of those people making money off of that are over. There's no more plastic shit. Nobody needs any more. I mean, how many storage units do people have? People got houses full of shit. They got the garage full of it, the attic's full of it, the basement's full of it, and then they go rent storage units, and that's full. And then they take that, and then there's another storage unit. And then all of a sudden there's shows popping up on where you can go bid on the storage units that people don't pay for. Because at the point that you're paying $300-400 a month on a storage unit, okay, 10 months goes by, that's $3,000. Is the shit in that storage unit worth $3,000? Probably not. By the end of
no.
By the time you get done paying for it, it's like $20,000 worth of rent you've been putting in that storage unit on like $100 worth of anything that was worth anything. Go ahead, Bruce. I see you over there. Epic Journeyman, and then Rock and Rio.
I'm good. I'm just listening.
All right, Rock and Rio.
Well, I brought this up before, and I really do think this is the future. Like, as a somewhat futurist kind of guy, the way I think, you know, I do see the end game in this, and I think I'm positive of it at this point that our wealth in the future will be measured in smart dust. So what smart dust is smart matter, right? That you can manipulate. And so you think about things you own. Right? What is it? It's things that take up space, obviously, but they're based on a certain amount of what you just said, plastic and resources and whatnot that make that chair and make that TV and make whatever. But with the advent of programmable matter, they call it programmable matter, and it was something like the blockchain technology being able to track that matter, right, and assign it to a person as a commodity, right? That becomes your measure of wealth in a sense, because you can build your home, you can build the furniture in your home however you want to. You can change it every day. You can make your TV. All these things eventually are going to become possible. But, and so what's going to happen is that programmable matter is basically what we're talking about. We're talking about nanotechnology, and we're talking about it being linked to I hate to use artificial intelligence so much, but it has to be to manage it all. And so at some point, that does become the basis of what everyone's going to build their wealth on. So it used to be landowners back in the day, and it still will be, because you have to have the space to put your stuff in, right? Unless you go into the virtual world. So the schism that's going to occur is people have real life things in their programmable matter.
There's a
moment and the people
coming,
who live in the virtual world.
There's a moment coming right now, okay? There's a moment coming where there's a bunch of people who own houses who are going to die off, and there's nobody there to get that house. There's no family. There's no nothing. There's a whole generations and generations of these older people that are going to sit there and slowly die off, and these properties are going to get bought up. Every time they come available, one hits the market, somebody's going to scoop that up. And then, like we said earlier, most people are renting lifestyle anyway. Just call a spade a spade. In other words, no one owns that $75,000 SUV or that $500,000 McMansion or whatever it is outright. Everyone's just paying, and it's like, how much of your salary are you willing to give up to rent the lifestyle to show everybody else how successful you are? Because there's no, what is the purpose of a $500,000 McMansion if you can't feed your family, and when all of a sudden you lose your job and you can't pay that, whatever it is, throw that chunk down on the table every month. All of a sudden, where are you sitting, man? You're sitting down next to the other guy that you used to see when you walked into the grocery store. You're sitting right next to him with another sign saying, you'll work for food. Man, Americans aren't that far away, man. And realistically, people are like literally 3 paychecks away from being on the street. And there's a lot of people on the street ending up in situations where they got to do shit for money that they wouldn't necessarily do in other situations. And all of a sudden, certain things don't seem as bad as they used to. And there we are, spiraling downward. Like I said, down, down, down we go, spiraling into mediocrity. And but our bright spot for tonight is Rockin' Rio. He's the man in shining armor, bright white T-shirt, dark Ray-Bans, ponytail. He's one of them sensitive ponytail dudes that all the guys don't like because he gets all the chicks. If you go anywhere, there's any chicks, Rockin' Rio is always the one because he's got that sensitive ponytail. Rockin' Rio, are you over there? Sensitive?
I am here.
Okay.
I'm not feeling very sensitive tonight, though.
The sensitive Italian stallion with the ponytail. Go ahead.
So, King Charles. I'm sure a bunch of people saw his speech today. About 8 minutes long, give or take. Like I said before, it was pretty typical of what you would expect. Naming the heirs and wishing his mother goodbye and that kind of thing. But here in reverse, he reveals kind of his evil, just like the rest of them do. It's a little dark, and actually I had a little bit of a hard time with this one. I don't know if it's because of the thick accent or. I've never really looked at Charles before. Like you do Biden, and it's quite easy for me. And Biden is always very clear, but Charles with the English accent, and I don't want to say it the wrong way, but he almost has like marbles in his mouth, kind of stiff upper lip thing. Very slow spoken. It took me a little bit to get used to his voice, so I may have some of this a little off, but it's definitely, the parts that I found are definitely something to say. So I'll just start with the back end of it here. So what I kind of got out of this is he's just talking about the evil and the plans and the service and the serfs, the game that they're playing. It's kind of interesting. It's not quite as dynamic as what we found last week with Biden telling everybody to kneel to Baal, but it does reveal the dark side of the English throne. All right, so here I go. They'll say he's evil, yet he shall egress. His master's weak. See the shame. We admire for this not. With my followers, I share this now. For our life, weakness we cast. See, this is taking us nowhere. All I'm feeling is that I'm nauseous. In us is fear. Son, we need the wizard. All right, so here we go. Let me slow it down a little bit. So say he's evil, yet he shall egress. His master's weak.
Say he's evil, shall egress. His master's weak.
Mr. Weak. See the shame we admire for this not.
Shin we admire for this not.
With my followers, share this now for our life. Weakness we cast.
In my followers, share this not for our life. Weakness. Weakness.
See, this is taking us nowhere. All I'm feeling is that I'm nauseous.
Says the S is nicht missnowhere. Hier leist der am nauseous.
In us, fear, son, we need the wizard.
In us, fear, son, we need the wizard.
How many lost names is in that?
My last name is not.
Next one is Serfs gave this up.
Really clear tonight, man.
Yeah.
Really clear tonight. You can hear them all really clearly.
Yeah, and he's not as quite as proficient at this. I would say
Bruce is getting better at hearing it too, Bruce, because you've been doing it longer now. When you first started doing it, you didn't hear it. You probably hear it better too, though. So, but yeah, it's really clear.
Yeah. It doesn't. I'm pretty much a polyglot, which is a person who learns languages very easily. I'll have a few more weeks of this. I'll have a hotline right to the devil.
Well, we may be able to make that connection tonight.
Damn.
So, like I say, he's not quite as proficient at this as some of the others are. His phrases are a little jumbled. I would call it like Yoda speak. Some of the phrases are a little bit backwards, but the message here is very
Yoda
clear.
speak. Yeah.
You speak like Yoda. I do. Yes.
That last one where he said the last quote from him was pretty dead on, man. That wasn't even remotely hard to hear. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I think Bruce is right on that. It's not just getting used to it. Is that was pretty clear as day, man.
Yeah. So the next one here is Serfs gave this up. So he does actually mention things like serfs and lordship and things that you would associate with British royalty in that kind of respect. So serfs gave this up, but her vetting this, the arm of the English law, name it. So now that's kind of a Masonic thing, right? And of course another reference to the law. Now this is the English law, so they're going to name it, which is part of the Crowleyan magic, naming the law, right? So here's that.
Serfs gave this up.
So then the next part here is going to be let's see, I got to get this here. Service to them develop our males. Yes, they name it. The whole world believes me not. They're throwing the markers up. The shame is that the magus marked you all in a mass scheme, wove it, and hold the loony. Now, for those of you who don't know, loony is like saying they have the money. They're holding the money. A loony is a very ancient term for doubloons, basically.
We'll go back again and come back again with that one more time, because there was some essential magical cadence to that and what was said.
What's the magus in the mill? Yeah, magus in the mill.
Yeah.
Service to them develop our males. Oops, somebody just bleeped there. Yes, they name it. The whole world believes me not. Throwing the markers up, the shame is that the magus marked you all. Mass scheme, wove it, hold the loony. So the magus marked you all. It's a mass, mind control scheme. They wove it, and they hold all the money.
They made you believe in it, and then you accepted it, and they hold it. Yeah, okay. So I'm down with this. So that I'm curious to see how accurate. I mean, it sounds. It sounds pretty diabolical when you say it that way, for sure. In other words, the idea that the mail is not only just something that gets to everybody in the first place and knows the location, their address, literally where they live, but also absorbs them into this commodity-based and doubloon, as you said earlier, loony-based economy, right? And the megas oversees it all. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So let's see.
All right, so here, let me roll that section, and then the next section kind of expands on that a little bit too.
Service to them, develop our mails.
All right, service to them, develop our mails. Yes, they name it. The whole world believes me not.
Wow.
Or maybe that says the whole world believes in that. I mean,
and indeed a global world believes me not.
No, it's believes me not.
Believes me not, yeah.
Throwing the markers up, the shame is that the magus marked you all.
Throwing the markers up. Shame is that the magus marked you.
Or the magus marked all you, okay. Mass scheme, wove it, hold the loony.
Mass scheme, wove it, hold the loony. Okay,
so that's sea service. We are all alive, so all of us bring this together. In the game, they arrive, fall down. Serfs get their souls nowhere.
In the game, they arrive, fall down. Serfs get their souls nowhere.
Damn.
Serfs get their souls nowhere. It's clear as day.
Jesus.
I don't know about the first part, but that part's right. So basically, it's saying, hey, look, we threw our markers up because we're betting on you, right? And not only just betting on you, but we're, it's like just like betting on any other commodity in the stock market, right? We're going to bet that the masses will do what we say. We threw our markers up, and we hold the loony. And then with the serfs thing, I mean, yeah, that's clear as day. The serfs part.
Right.
Interesting.
And the magus marked all of you, right? So that's, the magician put the hoax, the spell on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically what he's saying. We as the powerful mages have tagged you.
Somebody put the ethos on you.
Sorry to interrupt. The Magus thing, this is one of the first times that Magus is coming up so clearly in this reverse speech, actually. Interesting, it comes from King Charles, right?
Interesting.
So the next line here says, the fake gimmick royals give you to harvest mass service. Our shaman is near. You must kneel for.
So when they do this funeral and everybody comes out crying and putting out flowers and all that, they're just going to suck up the loosh. Isn't that what he's saying? Bruce McDonald, you're the loosh expert on the panel. What is the status on the loosh for the Queen's funeral? Will it be the same harvest as the Diana funeral?
No. Diana was like jackpot. That was just like absolute jackpot. We were different people back then. We gave it up more easily, Jimmy.
I'm sorry, I gotta say, yeah, you're right.
A lot of people have different feelings about the Queen. I don't know what's going to happen. However, pivoting off the general theme of your question about the occult associations of her passing,
mm-hmm.
I see a lot of footprints in the snow, man, like the numbers, and it's an auspicious time for her to pass.
It's uncanny.
It signals something. I mean, they even had like a double rainbow over Buckingham Palace, like hours after her death was announced.
And there have been rainbow rings appearing around the world, too. Rings of rainbows. Rings, ladies and gentlemen. Rainbow rings. What are they? Remember we did that show where people, because the magnetic field starts to disintegrate, the gravity gets weird and people start floating up to the sky because there's no gravity to hold them down. People, that's why there's no bodies in all those buildings, you know, after the earth starts to vibrate and the liquefaction happens. You don't see piles and piles of bones everywhere when you see the first pictures of those dudes in the top hats. When they show up with the big black top hats. When those dudes show up, it's way after everybody floated away, except for the people who knew what was happening. They went underground, so they didn't float away. And then they came back out. One guy says, "I'll take New York." All right, and the other guy goes, "Yeah, all right. I'll take England." You know, they just dole it out to a small group of people and start over, man, because everybody else floated away, right up into space, man. Or not. My name's Jimmy. We're asking the tough questions in the middle of the night right here. Revolution Radio, FieldSlips.com. Bruce MacDonald, Amazon.com. Find his books. God is an Economist on Spreaker. We'll find some of his audio. Spotify.
Everywhere. God is an Economist.
Wherever
you will not engage a better book this year, 2022.
Wherever books are, Bruce MacDonald will be. Because, let me just say, he's got a few books out there in the hands of people, readers. In order to write you write something, get your book in front of the eye of people and they read it. That's saying something. Whereas Rock and Rio, he says something every Friday night right here at the Reverse Perverse Circus, where he dissects current information at some times, like for today, for example, because the Queen is dead. What's Johnny?
Long live the king. That's the next phrase.
Well, what's Johnny Rotten? What's Johnny Rotten got to say about it? That's what I want to know. But anyway, in the meantime,
Johnny, he likes her now.
Now it's God Save the King. That's all.
Yeah,
but
I heard Meghan Markle.
Until the king is healed, until the king's wound is healed, the land will grow fallow. Until the man appears who can pull the sword from the stone. And I'm sorry, but I don't see this wounded king restoring the land of the people. He's wasted space. I say, bring on William and usher in the New World Order.
This is Christopher Everard territory, man. We really need him on this. This is his gig, right? The Pillow Stone being under the throne of Elizabeth.
It's compelling.
And then what I just made an analogy about the masculine being embedded in the stone because the queen sat on the throne so long, it needs to be removed, pulled from the stone, right? I'm telling you,
there's something
the 70-year
going on.
Reign of Queen Elizabeth, I mean, is like that sword in the stone.
Something
from that perspective.
bigger. There's something bigger going on.
Yeah.
What are the numbers on 9/11 this year? So it's 9/11/2022, and how many years has it been since 9/11? What are these numbers? Because I guarantee you there's
21 years.
21, that's 3. So, let me just,
3, 6, and 9.
There, I'm saying, man, there's a lot to this, man. There's more to it than meets the eye. And we don't have enough, there's only 20 some odd minutes left here on Revolution Radio, FieldSlips.com. We don't have enough time to go into it tonight, but I'm going to guarantee you between the time we see you next week, lots of people are going to go into these numbers about this whole thing. And I'm going to say I'm going to say right now, I feel a vibration coming from this topic that there will be numbers that are coinciding with this date and this crowning.
I'm sure there's a lot of ritual involved with this within numerology and gematria and just occult stuff and occult symbolism.
All the stuff.
The passing of the crown, the passing of the sword, that kind of thing.
All that spiritualism that the Bible tells you specifically you're not supposed to do. But anyway.
Right.
But anyway, don't worry about the future. Just have faith. That's what you got to do. Job. Bruce knows Job. I know Job. He was a good man.
Job was tested.
Do you remember that debate where the dude goes, Bobby Kennedy, this or that, and the dude goes, I knew Bobby Kennedy.
Leonard Bernstein. Not
You're
Bernstein,
no Bobby Kennedy. No, he goes, I knew Bobby.
Oh.
He was running for president. It was a debate, and some dude made the mistake of bringing up Bobby
Lloyd
Kennedy.
Benson, not the playwright or whatever he was.
He's like, I knew Bobby Kennedy.
Lloyd Benson. Well, he's responsible for the
Baby.
job I had as a spook. He's the guy who signed that contract to make that happen. So that's Lloyd Benson. The deal was made on a golf course. Now that he's dead, I can say that.
That's funny.
So,
well not funny, but
interesting tidbit.
ironic.
Right? Lloyd Benson. He was the vice presidential candidate in that debate, and I knew Kennedy. And
I used to have this English teacher.
John Kennedy.
I used to have this English teacher, and he enjoyed picking on me in class.
I want also this was no yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. And now I thought it was him coming to haunt me. No, he used to tease me in class. Just mess with me because I was one of those kids where I wasn't necessarily engaged in class, but when it came time for this was an English class, it came time for writing or whatever, I would always make my grade or whatever. But he used to yell out at me, "The irony, Jimmy, the irony." Like you'd read Mice and Men, the irony, Jimmy, the irony. Bruce, do you find irony in this situation right now? The irony of it?
Oh, you're going to have to be a bit more specific.
I just mean the irony of this situation right now. The ironic nature of the current situation. Do you think there's irony?
Oh, irony abounds, yeah.
I know.
Irony has been a big thing for about a decade and a half now. So I'm
It's literally
well beyond my daily dosage requirement for irony.
I know. It's like irony on the one side of the scale. And you know what my grandma used to say? Before we go back to Rock and Rio, because we only have a few minutes left, and these are nuggets from the past. You want to pass on to people so they don't forget. I mean, because these generations are dying off. If nobody repeats with their stories, their stories just go into the wind. Just a bunch of junk at the Goodwill. Not somebody's life. It's somebody's junk at the Goodwill. But anyways, my grandma used to say this, Bruce. She used to say, Jimmy, hope in one hand and shit in the other one. And see which one fills up first. That's a little blast from the past.
That's quite lovely.
From my grandma. She did smoke Camel non-filters, and I'm not even kidding. She smoked Camel non-filters and drove a big ass Chevy. She during World War II, she literally worked building the cables they dragged across the ocean to make phone calls with.
Wow.
She was a badass old lady, man. I was sorry to see her go. A lot of wisdom there. And, there's wisdom everywhere. And let me just say, Rock and Rio has got the wisdom from the Chuck, the new head of the United Kingdom. And the sun never sets on the empire, does it? The sun never sets on the English Empire. And let me just say, Rock and Rio might just have a little dust from the corners of Chucky's room over there.
I do. And this is now where it's going to start getting a little darker. But
darker?
Right, so, yes,
Jesus. Darker. And I call his name, Jesus Christ Almighty. You just say his name just to clear the air real quick.
As opposed to the cousin, Jesus H. Christ, who I implore quite a bit.
Well, everybody knows the name of Jesus, but no one really knows the name of God. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize it's right there. It's our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So you just call out to Howard if you need a name. Gotta give it a name. And that was what they were saying earlier, is they gave it a name. They named it. And for some reason, the naming of something has a very deep significance in how magic is thrown around, if you want to.
Yeah, you have to name the target, right?
Give it a name.
Give it a name.
Give it a name.
All right, so the fake gimmick royals give you to harvest mass service. Our shaman near, you must kneel for. Here we go.
The fake gimmick, well, yeah, our business is shaman near, this new play.
All right, and then it's in the shades. Our mark will shine. Our deal now is Earth's greatest myth. Right, so then the next part here I'm going to jump to kind of continues this thought because there's a little bit of garbage in between. And it's going to say, we'll start new games and mark the beast. Work his anus. We must fear our masters. Service we give up, we're all in awe of it. In the shame you hear me.
Damn.
So here we go with that.
Jesus.
We'll start new games and mark the beast. Work his anus, we must fear our masters.
Wow.
Service.
Oh my God.
Hold on. That was good, but is it anus or the work is heinous?
No,
work his anus.
Work his anus.
Since our marriage 17 years ago.
Oh God, the cute people are nuts.
Since our marriage 17 years ago.
All right, here it is. To work his anus, fear our masters.
All right, hold on a second.
We must fear our masters is definitely there.
He said work the anus, fear our masters, but it was funny because forward he was saying he got married 17 years ago.
17 years ago. That's why I say the cute people are going to go nuts.
But I'm just saying, he looked like he got married 17 years ago. The reason he got divorced is because he was over there working that anus somewhere.
So this now working the anus is the service you must give up, and they're all in awe of it, and in the shame you hear me is what comes up next.
Go ahead. Okay, so from here it goes even a little bit more bizarre. The next phrase is to be possessed, cast you with, right? So Satan, is this your ask of us? So I'm assuming these phrases are slightly jumbled up. So Satan, is this your ask of us to be possessed and to cast, the people with this? It says, search the night now. The masked devil show must fake us. Like we must fake the masked devil's show. He is awful, or him awful. It says, suck the big one, then know it. Here we go with that. To be possessed, cast you with. So Satan, is this your ask of us? So search the night now. Masked devil show must take us. Him awful, suck the big one.
Him awful, suck the big one. Oh my God. They're vile.
Did he
They're
say?
just vile.
Did he say?
They're not nice people.
Did they say energy? Did he say suck the big one and then sound like energy after that?
He says, suck the big one, then know it, is what I got out of it. But
The responsibilities. It will no longer be possible for me.
Hold on. So now he's exempt, right? Now he's finally king. So he didn't have to anymore.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what that sounds like to me.
Do it again. Sorry, I was playing the Doors' Backdoor Man there in the background.
It will no longer be possible for me.
it will no longer be possible for me. Right?
It will no longer be possible for me.
Him awful, suck the big one, then know it, then knows it. So the next line here is this world that we visit, reserved we will share.
I shall endeavor to serve you with loyalty.
I shall endeavor to serve you with loyalty. All right, so this world that we visit, reversed we will share.
This world that we visit, reversed share.
All right, and then it says, insert the dark mask. Her name shows it. Her name. Insert the dark mask. Rename her. It shows. Insert dark mask. Rename her. It shows. And it says, the sad feeling is the shock in him for now. The mark of the beast, our society is with you. So here's that.
Jesus.
Sad feeling is the
shock in him for now. The mark of the beast, our society is with you.
We have seen our society become
Sweet Jesus.
And then it says, we find a message sent last year. Snoops said that's the one.
Any of you. My name is last year. Snoops said that's the one.
Snoops said that's the one. I'm not sure what that message that was sent last year is, but
Me neither. Something stinks.
It says, and they were then nervous and shivered now. They're shaken in there.
Man,
Wir waren nervös, schwebten, shaken.
So
something all of a sudden stinks around here. It's like a foul I'm not even bullshitting. It's like a foul stench.
It's summon soap through your PC, your Mac.
Jimmy, I don't want to alarm you. I don't want to alarm you, Jimmy, but that's a sign the master is about.
Cat man. He can steal a broad's mind, man, in 3 or 4 minutes. It's not how long you talk, bro. It's what you put in it. Look out!
Her dedication.
John, that's Don Julian and the Larks. The Larks. I'll go out with that. That's a little jam called Shorty the Pimp. Rock and Real. Are you there?
I am here.
You are deep in the anus of Chucky. The new.
Yeah, and there is more in here that I haven't really gotten to, but there is a mention of murder a little farther down. I heard when I first listened to it, and there is some other talk of ceremony a little later on in the reverse speech, but I don't have that all.
We only have
organized
4 minutes left of our normal show on Revolution Radio. I don't know if there's a new show coming on after us, so
We're balls deep on Chuck.
I can't.
Balls
Chuck, balls deep is a good way to put it. you know.
Well, if you want to do some more, if you want to do some more of this live, we can do that.
All right, well, let's do it on the.
But I don't have it.
We're gonna have to do it over on Into the Microcosm Jimmy Jean Strike Zone if you want to continue on with this. And let me just say, Bruce, going balls deep is definitely necessary on this, and I'll just say, this in the irony and squinting profundity, Bruce, I will say to you, does Howdy Doody have wooden balls?
Yes.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Rock and Rio, it's all confirmed. We will continue on X-rated over on Into the Microcosm Jimmy Jean Strike Zone on YouTube. You can find us. Rock and Rio, take us out with whatever you got there, man. If you don't got nothing, then it's time for Don Julian and the Larks.
Well, it's just, to me, it's fascinating how they're you know, the shades, their mark will shine. You know, they talk about the whole deal being a myth. You know, and it's magical, and that's what they've done to us.
Well, you know what, man?
And it just kind of fits in with everything from the last 2 years. It fits in with the whole scenario going on right now. It just it makes a lot of sense to what he's saying.
Camelot.
He's just kind of revealing what's happening.
Camelots, kings, castles, dragons, and giants were all fairy tales. Guess what, man? It wasn't a fairy tale. It all has meaning. Not necessarily to you, but to other people. It means something. Think about it. We'll be back next week, provided we all make it till next week. Until then, hasta lasagna, and don't get none on you. Epic Journeyman, Bruce McDonald, Rock and Rio. Any last words before we head on out to Don Julian and the Larks, Shorty the Pimp?
Be excellent to each other.
Yeah.
Movie of the week, Killing Zoe. Written and directed by Roger Avery, the former writing partner of Quentin Tarantino, who wrote True Romance. And his movie debut with Eric Stoltz in the lead role of a bank robbery movie that happens in France. It's adults only. Check it out. Killing Zoe.
Standing on a corner in a white Godfather hat. He drives a long black gangster Cadillac. He can steal a broad's mind, man, in 3 or 4 minutes. It's not how long you talk, bro. It's what you put in it.
Look out! The short little pimp.
Yeah.
He walks with a limp.
Ooh, man.
Shorty the pimp. Super dude. Super scheme. The answer to all the girls' dreams. They call him nice man, 'cause he's too cold. Stone trip. Shorty the pimp.
Yeah.
He wears his hat tilted way to the side. Gold black hair and light brown eyes. His money's long and his game is strong.
Keeps a little bag, brother, to turn you on.
Super hip. Shorty's a tramp. Hey! Got to pay back. Revenge. I'm mad. Got to get back. I need some get back. Pay back.
see, Too Short.
Standing on a corner in a white Godfather hat. He drives a long black gangster Cadillac. He can steal a broad's mind, man, in 3 or 4 minutes. It's not how long you talk, bruh. It's what you put in it.
Look out! The shorty look pimp.
Yeah.
He walks with a limp.
Ooh, man.
Shorty look pimp.
See, this is Too Short.
Tapes every day, me and Freddie B. Been famous since 1983. Give me $10 and you straight get blessed. So rap all about you, call the special request. Now Oakland, you know I go way back to Coog Nuts, Fouch Stangs, and Cadillac. When homeboys put Vogues on any car with 6x9 smoking burner. Everybody got addicted to my doping beat. Whole town got addicted, started smoking deep. Every rap I ever made was about this town. Made 7 whole albums with no James Brown. And even though I love his music, I just can't stand the way they use it all up and didn't pay the man. And after 3 platinum albums, you call me weak, cause I don't sell records in the East. Now what's funky? I say panties on the old. I guess y'all fools don't know why some good rappers can't sell no tapes. It's not the company's fault. You sound so fake, you wanna be in the trunk with the booming box.
Oh shit, now let me warm it up. I got the gin and juice and I'ma pour 'em a cup to get smooth in the mood that I'm in. So let's start riding till this motherfucker ends and hit the main strip where the hoes be hanging. Spitting some game and trying to throw that thing on any young nigga with some ends. A mobile phone and a drop top Benz. Take it from me, see? Cause I know what it's about. Kick a big fat dick in a bitch's mouth and keep riding, high siding. But don't front, niggas, serve that shit. Don't be no pumpkin while the niggas keep jocking. I be scoping all the fine ass freaks of Oakland. That's where I reside and where I always will be. The city of killers, dope dealers, and still we chill like players and act like pimps. Mac all hoes and slap all simps. The big badass. I'm from the dangerous crew. I just hang with the gang like it's the thing to do. Now motherfuckers
What happened to
can't
that other
face
rapper
the
y'all used to
facts that-
fuck with?
Man, we ain't fucking with that fake motherfucker MC, whatever that motherfucker name is, man. We got a real crew. We got motherfuckers over here rapping for real, eating pussy on records and shit. That shit ain't what's happening. We got some real shit. Trying to be like Short, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Dangerous Music got some Mac shit for your ass.
Damn. So this is Into the Microcosm.
I don't want to see a hologram of that.
After Hours with Too Short coming in hot from Oakland, California. That's where he's from. It's a city where the brothers say you don't want none. It's a city called the City of Dope. It could be saved by John the Pope. So go on and just live your life. Through the stress and strife, rock and reel. Epic journeyman. I think Bruce McDonald has faded into the sunset of the Talamanca Mountains. Somewhere deep in the jungles.
I think Bruce has stepped away. He may return though.
He's high. He's high in the deep jungle, in the mountainous regions of Costa Rica. So sometimes his internet goes in and out. He does have that fluctuation problem.
Talamanca Mountains, it happens, man.
I'm telling you right now, man. These Keurig coffee machines. It's like having a Starbucks in my effing kitchen, man. I'm telling you right now. I'm gonna get up right now.
Well, that. I wouldn't say it that way because Starbucks coffee sucks.
It doesn't matter if it sucks. It may suck, but the thing is, it's what's good about it is that there is one thing that's good about it. It's consistently shitty, but it has a taste to it. No matter where you go, it will taste the same. I don't give a shit. It's like a McDonald's. You know what they do?
Yep.
Check it out, man. You know what McDonald's does? They sell fucking hamburgers, man. One at a time. And they sold billions of them. If you ask McDonald's, you say, hey, man, what do? You know what they say? I make hamburgers. So, the thing is, coffee, what does Starbucks do? They do one thing. They make They make coffee. So I don't care where I go, it's always going to taste the same. But what I'm saying is, now I can have that same consistency that I missed, that I just can't get in my own brewing. For some reason, I never get it just right. It's like a lightning strike. One day I make this pot of coffee and it's just right. Like when I put my amount of sugar in there, it tastes just like it's supposed to. Like it's not too strong where I gotta put more sugar. You know what I mean? Or it's weak and I gotta pour it out. There's nothing worse than weak ass piss coffee.
Weak coffee is probably the worst thing there is. It's like bong water. Just go ahead and give me some bong
It's
water.
all dry. My mouth's getting dry right now, even thinking about it.
John says, speaking of the crappy Starbucks, they're not going to take cash anymore as of October 1st.
So right,
Starbucks is going cashless. That's
well, guess what?
I mean, the whole world is going to be going cashless in the near future.
Well, let me just say, it's cash.
That's the subject matter right there. They have the mermaid with the twin tails, which is actually the leg spread, right? If you look at it the right way, and it's the sea people that we're talking about in Dugan's analogy. We were talking about Bannon earlier of the motherland versus the sea people in commerce. In Starbucks is that is exactly what that logo represents. It represents the sea people, the mer. You
just brought up something really interesting, Epic, because when I was going through this Prince Charles thing before, and I don't have it marked where it was, but there was something about the sea and the sailors that was in one of these lines, and it just, that's kind of an interesting concept. I never really thought of that. I just I kind of skimmed over it as I was listening to this the first time through. And but there was definitely a mention of the sea. The sailors on the sea or something like that was in here. And
world politics, it actually, I don't mean world politics like we think of politics. I mean world, things that change the scope of the world, how the world works. It's actually, if you look way back, whether you believe in Atlantis or not, that they can say that's the original sea people. But what we know is it's the Phoenicians, right? And then the Phoenicians ruled for forever. It seemed like up until the eruption there at Santorini, and then it becomes, then they flee to Egypt, and we get the legend of Atlantis. Whether that's true or not, that's where a lot of people think it came from. But then this idea of the same kind of commerce goes on, and it's exemplified best in our recent memory by the British Empire, where they were the sea people traveling the world and colonizing everywhere, and the sun never set on them, right? I mean, that is absolutely what that represents. So a reference to the sea people, or not even the sea people, but the sailors, who basically made that economy possible, not just the economy, but the world politic at the time, that made the monarchy of the United Kingdom possible to rule that much of the world.
Well, there you go. I mean, I was kind of thinking, like, there was some other stuff in here, that had like symbolic things, and I didn't catch all of it the first time through. Like I said, I actually had a hard time doing the King because of the way he speaks, and I'm sure if I do a little bit more of him in the future, I will get a little bit more used to, how he articulates. But
he's pretty boring, man. He is.
Yeah, he is. Definitely forward he's boring, but
yes.
This reverse, being that it's his first speech as king, was kind of interesting. And I did note that, like, the mention of there's a couple times he mentions gods. There's a lot of times he mentions being nervous, and I guess that's probably just that might be subliminal or subconscious speaking, rather, where he keeps saying he's nervous about the whole situation. But that did strike me before the sea people was something that was mentioned in here, and just that you brought that up now in relation to the Starbucks thing. It's kind of
it makes a lot of sense in context of the British Empire and a new king, right? It really does. Like that was what made the British Empire the British Empire. And if you look at a coming age where maybe that might reverse what it had been, where the withdrawal of the influence of the British Isles, occurred, right, during the reign of Elizabeth. And we take that analogy I made earlier about pulling the sword from the stone, right? Whoever that may be, maybe it's William, maybe it's not Charles, right? And that pushing forward again. Sorry for the sexual metaphors, people. That's what it is, right? Then that could return the British Empire in that sense. Now, in today's economy, in this world, I don't think that could happen. But when you have the memes behind it, the power of suggestion, the metaphors that are so strong, the music even behind it, all the things that influence culture that have been studied by Tavistock and then even on our side with Stanford SRI for all these years, there's absolutely a way to influence and shape culture that way. They can return that kind of sense of monarchical, is monarchical even a word? Empire, again. I could see that in that sense.
Yeah, and it's also kind of interesting too that some of the other nations that respected the Queen really don't like Charles, and kind of like, what do we do now? Maybe the empire is falling apart, which maybe it needs to do for some kind of reorganization purpose.
Yeah, you want my opinion on that?
Yeah, definitely.
So, whatever is going on in the world now, there are certain markers upon people for the level of deliberate destruction that will be brought to those societies. So, for example, where I live here in Costa Rica, there's not a whole lot going on. You know, the system is working in many ways. It's going in the opposite direction of North America. Lingering policing problems are finally being taken care of at a very serious national level now with this with this new president. But one of the things I've noticed is I think the countries that are going to get hit hardest by this transition we're going through are the countries that are springing off the English Protestant Bible, the King James Bible. So the United Kingdom, United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And it's interesting that that's the common cultural binding, is that particular Bible, the King James Bible. Interesting to think about, right? And, the King James Bible is intricately linked into the modern world. It comes out in the 1600s. Everything that formed the world we live in today was brought to us in one century, the 1600s. I think the King James was 1611, and then 1684 is the Bank of England. And so
Shakespeare prior to that in this whole idea of the formation of the Rosicrucians, and the thing that trips me out is it all correlates to the creation of modern English as a language.
Yes,
and it's the only language directly reflecting on what what Rio was just saying about reverse speech. That even working, it's not possible without modern English for it to work that way.
And you notice who those are all the same nations, right? Australia, Canada, America, New Zealand, England, so those are all the modern English speaking languages. And you're right, the King James Bible does seem to be a similar tie-in to that. And
absolutely.
And that's as they call it, the Western world, but and that's that's what's falling, right? I mean, China's doing fairly well. Russia's got their thing, but they're doing fairly well. India's okay, but who's suffering right now? America, Australia, and Northern Europe.
Well, see, Northern Europe. I mean, Europe proper has its own plan, but those cultures, I think, will preserve. Portuguese culture, Italian culture, Spanish culture, Greek culture, to a certain extent, French culture. They will preserve. Those societies will be dramatically changed by the economic shifts and the demographic shifts that are going to come about due to mass immigration. But they're all under sort of a different Bible as well, right? Like, so those Latin languages, they're coming right off the original Latin version, right? King James is a whole other animal, man. It's like just a whole other animal. And really, um, it began what we call the prosperity doctrine in Christianity, which, by the way, Catholics wholeheartedly reject. You know, the Catholic perspective is if you take God seriously, you'll probably suffer more in life, not be materially benefited. And where the Protestants come in with this doctrine of prosperity, and of course, this is, this is the Jewish influence on the King James Bible, because it's a different relationship with the divine. The Jewish Protestant relationship with the divine is like a quid pro quo. I do for you, you do for me. All the other variants of Christianity are just like pure service, more like the Job model of relationship with God. That's interesting, and it's really the prosperity doctrine is really what has brought us to the chaos we're at in the world right now, slowly over 400 years. But that, in evolutionary time space, that's like 1/100th of a blink of an eye. It's not much time at all, right? And look at how quickly it's all happened.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up too, because if you really look at alternate versions of the Bible, the original versions of the Bible, right? We all take the King James as kind of the baseline, but there's a lot of strange interpretations and representations in the King James Bible. If you study the actual Greek version or the original Aramaic versions of those books, the language is a bit different, and it's more culturally relevant to the people of the times when those books were written. But there's also this, like King James version was kind of an attempt to modernize it and bring it to the English speaking world. And some of the meaning of things has changed over time. And the language that's used, and it's very clear in the earlier versions that yes, God will bless you in a certain way. He will give you long life. He will give you a healthy life. He will provide for you. But that doesn't mean he's going to make you rich and fly around in a jet plane. It just means that you won't go hungry. You won't starve to death because
Consider
the Lord will bless you.
lilies of the field and the sparrows.
But it doesn't mean that you're going to be flying around in a jet and driving a Rolls Royce. And that's something that the King James doctrine kind of brought into that. And on the other hand, Jesus told us to give it all away and be in the service of others, right? And that's the life you're supposed to live, is to be in the service of others and to bless others with what you're blessed with. So there's a whole difference in the principles that came about because of that King James translation and what they were trying to, what the Church of England was trying to achieve for their world and their control, against what the Roman Catholics were doing at the time, and against what, even the original Greek Orthodoxy and, the original real Jews, the Aramaics, had believed. It's a very different culture. It's a very different system.
People don't remember, or they don't know how serious a thing this was in Europe. The King James Bible, the proliferation of Protestantism, the new kind of Christian cultures that were being formed in Germany with Lutheranism, with England with Anglicanism, and Scotland with Presbyterianism, And the Lutheran Bible was German, but German is also, do you think you'd be able to do reverse speech on German, Epic?
No.
For
not
real?
the same. Not the same. Not the same. For me, I don't think so. I won't guess for your things. I don't think it'd be the same. I mean, you can do reverse speech in any language, but modern English is specifically meant to be done in reverse. I mean, I believe that full-heartedly.
Yeah, well, modern English is designed for magical purposes. So, knowing that the law of reversal is a big deal in those circles, it makes sense that English is probably the easiest to do it in. I'm not fluent enough in German that I can really make much of it forward, much less backward. But I have heard Spanish, and I've tried a little bit of Spanish because I can understand enough of it to know when something's being said. And I have found that there is reverses in Spanish, but even though the language form itself is a little different, they put the verbs and the adjectives in different order than we do and stuff like that. There is still the ability to do it in reverse. But as far, I'm sure there's stuff in reverse in German and French and whatever. I mean, because our consciousness and our minds work that way, I'm sure that there are people who, express their thoughts the same way we do in reverse as a subconscious thing.
I think that's true.
But I don't know if the magical aspect of it that we find, like from Biden or from the Prince Charles or whoever I'm
John
looking
D.
at, is I don't know if that's going to be the same. But I guess I'd have to either learn a language or find somebody who speaks it fluently enough to be able to do it.
Well, I've heard things in Russian, before that work backwards, and I've heard things in other languages that work backwards. Spanish, right? It makes sense. Latin language, especially Latin itself, would work that way sometimes because Latin is considered something of a magical language, even though it's a lost language they call it today. Even though all our scientific names are based on Latin for everything. But yeah, modern English was specifically made to have a certain cadence and pause to it, and that's why proper English, right, the way the British speak it is the right way because those pauses matter, which is probably why some of the things that we heard today from the King sounded so clear, right? Where as opposed to Americanized, bastardized English, maybe it didn't sound as clear. Some of the things he said were dead on, right? Some were, but some were totally dead on.
Well, he also speaks very slowly forward.
Yeah.
And in a very proper fashion, but the accent makes it a little more difficult. But that's part of what made it easier is because he enunciates very clearly.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. As far as what we were just talking about, you were saying, Bruce, I think we have to, in Rio too, we have to delineate a little bit on the King James Version a little bit about how that's where Prosperity Ministries came in. And I know that's not what you were originally saying, but to make it clear to everybody who might be listening about this, Prosperity Ministry came in something in the 70s, really. Maybe it started in the 60s and the 70s, and that's kind of a different thing. But as opposed to the idea of using it for the name it and claim it, kind of thing we're kind of known for, we think about it today as, it was originally, it was four things that happened. So you had the schism, right, where the Catholic Church separated and formed the Orthodox Church, right? That was the first big thing. And then Lutherans, right, split off and formed Protestants basically, and of course King Henry VIII had to get a divorce. So which is basically the really the theme for a lot of this in the Church of England. So, but if you look at Prosperity Ministry, which is what's going on with evangelicals today. Sorry, evangelicals, my friends out there. That I went to Christian school, so don't blame me. But I can tell you that whole thing of God doesn't want you to be poor, pray for a Cadillac. That's new. That got created like in the 70s, man. that's not.
Yeah, I mean, just look at a lot of the. And this is kind of how you at least I judge the modern evangelical movement in some ways is you take a look at who's popular, who has the 50,000 seat megachurch, right? true Christianity is harsh in a way, right? There are a lot of rules to follow, God's laws. There are, you're supposed to follow the Bible to the letter, and there again, going back to the older versions before the King James Version. But when you take someone and you see all these modern ministers out there with the mega churches. I mean, Joel Osteen is a perfect example, and they're on a network like CBS or NBC or ABC. All right, it's not because they're buying the time, which they are, and they're teaching this prosperity, and they're teaching that homosexuality is okay, which the Bible clearly forbids. They're taking all these modern concepts and melding it to give people what they want to hear. They're not giving you the message that the Bible is actually telling you. They're not, I mean, I think it's in Leviticus, right? It says if a man sleeps with another man, he should be put to death. Now, when you get someone like Joel Osteen coming out and saying, well, we need to embrace gay priests or gay ministers.
Well, that's what they want.
I mean, that is such a direct contradiction to what what is taught originally, and they're doing that because the current society is becoming accepting of it now, and it's not. They're trying to make people. They're giving them what they want to hear. They're not giving them the laws of God, and that's kind of the difference. And you even go back and you hear these fire and the brimstone preachers telling you that there's a heaven and there's a hell, and if you're sinning, you need to repent, and you put your faith in Jesus, and all the things like that. When you listen to some of these new guys, especially like the TV guys, you realize that they're not really giving you the proper message, or what the message is supposed to be. They're just out there being rock stars and movie stars and acting a part so that they can make money. And that's a deception in itself at a high level.
Yeah, I mean the Bible, not to get religious here, but I mean if you read it, right, all the things that these people are getting famous for, and the fame itself is anti-biblical, and says what you're supposed to be doing. The instructions of Christ and what this whole monumental book is telling people to do. I mean, make the delineation between the Old Testament and New Testament, right? This one's fulfilling the prophecy of the other, and that is the dogma associated with it. So you have to treat it that way. If you read the New Testament, then yeah, all this stuff is ridiculous. How Joel Osteen could be out there, how the PTL Club could ever happen, is absurd on its face by what anything Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, or anything the Bible says in the New Testament. It's completely the antithesis of what was being said there.
Right.
So,
and the idea too, I brought up the gay thing, and it's not to bash on the gays, but like even when Jesus was with the prostitute at the well, right? He didn't criticize her for what she had done. He told her just go and sin no more, right? He didn't reject her. He didn't treat her badly. And that's kind of a thing too. Like, yes, if someone who's living an improper life wants to, come into church and find that, then they should be welcomed with open arms. But their sin should not be embraced. And that's the problem with a lot of the modern church stuff that's going on now.
I'd add that the biggest problem is that the people who are followers of those things don't read the texts and documents that they are basing their beliefs on. They take it secondhand from somebody else. If they looked at it themselves, there's no way you could read the Bible and just read the New Testament. Just read John. If you've never read the Bible before, just read John. Just read it. And for example, and there is no way you could believe any of the stuff that these prosperity ministries say, because it's all about, if you have two coats, give your brother one who has none. It's easier for the camel to go through a needle and the rich man to go to heaven. We're not of this world. Be in the world, but not of the world. All these things, right? And that's the whole tenet of the entire belief system that Jesus is trying to exemplify by his own life, right? in that text or any of those gospels. So if you read it, then you can't possibly believe in somebody like Joel Osteen. He is absolutely the epitome of a wolves in sheep's clothing. I don't feel bad about saying that at all. That's 100% true. Look at it. Look at him flying around jets or whatever. That, come on, man. You know what I mean? That's the absurdity of it. It is just it actually it makes me angry to see that, because it's like one of these things where it's so obvious that why won't you just read yourself, right? Because nobody wants to do the work. Is it intellectual laziness? I guess so. Maybe it is. Or maybe it's, we talk about on the show all the time, maybe it's social engineering to make you not feel you need to, because you're caught up in your feedback loop, you're in your filter bubble, and all you do is reinforce what you already are prone to do.
Bruce, what do you think? Oh, you're muted.
I think that the human ability to concentrate is greatly diminishing. The mind is defined, and our perception is defined in large measure by the tasks that we give it. So, I mean, when you went and you got like a classical liberal education in the 60s or 70s, I mean, you could communicate perfectly. You could do any office correspondence. You could go and work at the State Department. You could go anywhere. You had like a rock solid baseline education. And people read classics and they thought about them. They meditated on them. And it's just not done anymore. I mean, I don't think anybody reads anymore. I think that even the students at Harvard and Yale and Princeton, I think that they're doing whatever the 2022 version of Cole's Notes is. I got an exam on Dante's Inferno tomorrow. I better watch 3 hours of YouTube and think of a clever way to write this as though I said it. And it's affecting us enormously. Sometimes I don't know how they end up in my YouTube feed, but there's these couple guys, they just go around with microphones and ask people. They stop people on the street. It appears as though they're in California, like Venice Beach or someplace like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've seen some of those videos.
Yeah, they walk up to people on the street and they say, what country does the Queen of England live in? And they can't answer the question. Like you think it's a Monty Python skit, but it isn't.
Yeah, but if you ask them, to name the Kardashians, they know all of them, right? It's amazing what people know and what they don't,
and we're up,
and how they don't know the stuff they should.
Yeah, and we're up against the Chinese and the Indians in this modern economy for transportable technology jobs that are done at a desk and transferred by network, right? And they're still raising their kids old school. Poor Jimmy Choo is sent up to his room after dinner and the internet's cut off, and he goes with his textbooks and his cello, and that's all he's got for 4 hours, like Monday to Friday. Saturday his parents take him to a strip mall and maybe buy him a pair of sneakers, and then it's right back to the homework Saturday night. There's a lot of people who
so they could walk to school, right, and then come back and study faster.
So when I got back from Taiwan in '94, I was openly saying for the first year I was back that the Chinese are going to take over the world. We can't possibly compete. People thought I was crazy. They thought I had been brainwashed. They thought I was like Stockholm Syndrome. And I just quietly explained it. I said, look, I taught in what are called cram schools. And parents pay a lot of money to keep their kids in cram schools. It's like a lot of money, right? And this is the early 90s. And the money for private schooling on a monthly basis would be like a car lease. And the parents are ponying that up, man. And the kids are going to school from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. with an hour for lunch. That's the public school system. And then they go to cram schools from 6:30 to 8:30. And they'll do English, they'll do math, they'll do science. And then they got their homework from public school on top of that. You add it up, it's like a 75, 80-hour Wall Street week. And these kids are like 11, 12 years old. And how do you compete against that? I mean, we don't, we used to say to ourselves, well, we're more creative. They're a very perfunctory people. Well, perhaps that's true. I think we're coming into the time of China. And if you look at it through the lens of the foundation of a culture, China seems uniquely suited to the world we're going into because it's going to be much more bureaucratic. And the Chinese have probably one of the longest experiences as a people with bureaucracies. I mean, even the bureaucracy at the Forbidden Palace was legendary. It could compare to the bureaucracy of Brussels now or the United Nations. I mean, the Chinese love bureaucracy. And even 400 years ago, they used to have these exams to get on the emperor's civil service and live in the Forbidden City. Or if you lived in it, you had to cut your balls off. You had to be a eunuch. And if you worked for the emperor and you lived outside the city, then you're only allowed to visit certain hours in a day for fear you might copulate with one of his 500 concubines. You know, but these exams were so stringent, and they went for like 3 days straight, and that you had a little cot to sleep on, and they put you in a little cubicle, and people would die doing these exams. It was like the academic equivalent of Navy buds training for the Navy SEALs. And then when you look at the I Ching, the foundational book of Chinese prophecy, they predicated it on a simple binary of 3 sticks in a line, and they're either horizontal or vertical, and they're set in groups of 4. This is the basis of the prophetic system. So basically, they created a binary 64-bit system for prophecy, which is basically where we're living now in computing. And I don't think we're going to go beyond the 64-bit chip. I mean, I don't know how they do how the semiconductor is done on crays and stuff like that. So it's like they've been philosophically entrained through Buddhism and Taoism for 3,000 years. It's like they have been prepared for the society that's emerging. And we seem more like the past, like all of this crazy Abrahamic blood god stuff. This is another age of man. It's going away. Like theologically, we're the cavemen on the planet. There's no doubt about it, except for the people who actually are still doing the blood magic, like the Africans and stuff like that, and down here too. But anyways, those are just some of my observations. I mean, it seems like by the laws of fate, we're going into a Chinese time, not Asian particularly. I think that other Asian countries will not do as well, like Malaysia, Japan. Japan is a very different culture, okay? Specifically the Chinese. And because of what I just said, how habituated they are to the world we're going into. So they have a lot of practice at it. That's why everywhere you go now, and they're not super smart. I mean, they're smart, the Chinese, but they're not super smart. But everywhere you go, every Ivy League school you go in the U.S. now, like 30-40% of the student population is from mainland China, and they have rich parents, and they're over there cracking off a 3.9 GPA or a 4.0. Why? Just because they're disciplined, man. Disciplined. And that's something, I will say this, okay? It really, and people don't like to hear this, but it really was the baby boomers that robbed us of our discipline as a culture. They just, as soon as the finger goes in the ass and you start giving everybody blowjobs, nothing is, those doors aren't going to go on the same on that F-150 at the Ford factory. It's just not going to happen. And we just lost our way, man. And here we are.
We have lost our way.
Yeah, we're not going to get up for a while. We're not going to get up for 2 or 3 generations.
No, but I got to get out. I got to get out right now and go eat. I must eat.
All right, Jimmy. You be well.
All right, so YouTube, thanks for being here, everybody. We appreciate you so much. I can't say enough how much we appreciate everybody. So you heard it tonight. The network's coming online by the end of the month, so we'll see. Keep your fingers crossed. You guys ready to go?
Yeah, it should be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
It's, I'm very looking forward to it.
Yep. Are you ready to go?
Oh yeah, we could bail out at this point.
All right, here we go.